Good evening from Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm Kristen Welker of NBC News, and I welcome you to the final 2020 presidential debate between President Donald J. Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. Tonight's debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. It is conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the Commission's health security advisor. The audience here in the hall has promised to remain silent. No cheers, boos, or other interruptions, except right now, as we welcome to the stage former Vice President Joe Biden and President Donald J. Trump.
Hit one if you can hear me. Hit one. Big Mark is in the building. Salute to Big Mark.
And I do want to say a very good evening to both of you. This debate will cover 6 major topics. At the beginning of each section, each candidate will have 2 minutes uninterrupted to answer my first question. The debate commission will then turn on their microphone only when it is their turn to answer, and the commission will turn it off exactly when the 2 minutes have expired. After that, both microphones will remain on, but on behalf of the voters, I'm going to ask you to please speak one at a time. The goal is for you to hear each other and for the American people to hear every word of what you both have to say.
First question,
if you're ready,
what about Ice Cube's plan? Which one of y'all gonna inherit that plan?
The first question is for you. The country is heading into a dangerous new phase. More than 40,000 Americans are in the hospital tonight with COVID, including record numbers here in Tennessee. And since the two of you last shared a stage, 16,000 Americans have died from COVID. So please be specific. How would you lead the country during this next stage of the coronavirus crisis? 2 minutes uninterrupted.
So, as you know, 2.2 million people modeled out were expected to die. We closed up the greatest economy in the world in order to fight this horrible disease that came from China. It's a worldwide pandemic. It's all over the world. You see the spikes in Europe and many other places right now. If you notice, the mortality rate is down 85%. The excess mortality rate is way down and much lower than almost any other country. And we're fighting it, and we're fighting it hard. There is a spike. There was a spike in Florida, and it's now gone. There was a very big spike in Texas. It's now gone. There was a very big spike in Arizona. It's now gone. And there are some spikes and surges in other places. They will soon be gone.
Expect the president to do,
vaccine
man.
that's coming. It's ready.
Put a mask on
it's
everybody.
going to be announced within weeks, and it's going to be delivered. We have Operation Warp Speed.
Scott in the building.
The military is going to distribute the vaccine. I can tell you from personal experience that I was in the hospital. I had it. And I got better, and I will tell you that I had something that they gave me, a therapeutic, I guess they would call it. Some people could say it was a cure, but I was in for a short period of time, and I got better very fast, or I wouldn't be here tonight. And now they say I'm immune, whether it's 4 months or a lifetime. Nobody's been able to say that, but I'm immune. More and more people are getting better. We have a problem that's a worldwide problem. This is a worldwide problem.
How the fuck he don't know?
Congratulated by the heads of many countries on what we've been able to do. If you take a look at what we've done in terms of goggles and masks and gowns and everything else, and in particular ventilators, we're now making ventilators all over the world, thousands and thousands a month, distributing them all over the world. It will go away. And as I say, we're rounding the turn. We're rounding the corner. It's going away.
Okay. Former Vice President Biden, to you, how would you lead the country out of this crisis? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
220,000 Americans dead.
Damn.
You hear nothing else I say tonight. Hear this. Anyone who's responsible for not taking control, in fact, not saying I take no responsibility initially. Anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as President of the United States of America. We're in a situation where there are 1,000 deaths a day now, 1,000 deaths a day. And there are over 70,000 new cases per day. Compared to what's going on in Europe, as the New England Medical Journal said, they're starting from a very low rate. We're starting from a very high rate. The expectation is we'll have another 200,000 Americans dead between now and the end of the year. If we just wore these masks, the president's own advisors have told him, we could save 100,000 lives. And we're in a circumstance where the president thus far and still has no plan, no comprehensive plan. What I would do is make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask all the time. I would make sure we move in the direction of rapid testing, investing in rapid testing. I would make sure that we set up national standards as to how to open up schools and open up businesses so they can be safe and give them the wherewithal, the financial resources to be able to do that. We're in a situation now where the New England Medical Journal, one of the most serious journals in the whole world, said for the first time ever that the way this president has responded to this crisis has been absolutely tragic. And so, folks, I will take care of this. I will end this. I will make sure we have a plan.
President Trump, I'd like to follow up with you in your comments. You talked about taking a therapeutic. I assume you're referencing Regeneron. You also said a vaccine will be coming within weeks.
Yes.
Is that a guarantee?
No, it's not a guarantee, but it will be by the end of the year. But I think it has a good chance. There are two companies, I think, within a matter of weeks.
Please say
and it will
Moderna.
be distributed very quickly.
Can you tell us which companies?
Johnson & Johnson is doing very well. Moderna is doing very well.
Yes, sir.
Pfizer is doing very well. And we
Hopefully
have
my
numerous
stock
others.
go up.
Then we also have others that we're working on very closely with other countries, in particular Europe.
Let me follow up with you, and because this is new information, you have said a vaccine is coming soon, within weeks now. Your own officials say it could take well into 2021 at the earliest for enough Americans to get vaccinated. And even then, they say the country will be wearing masks and distancing into 2022. Is your timeline realistic?
Damn.
No, I think my timeline is going to be more accurate. I don't know that they're counting on the military the way I do, but we have our generals lined up.
Moderna,
One in
baby.
particular, that's the head of logistics. And this is a very easy distribution for him. He's ready to go as soon as we have the vaccine. And we expect to have 100 million vials. As soon as we have the vaccine, he's ready to go.
Vice President Biden, your reaction, and just 40% of Americans say they would definitely agree to take a coronavirus vaccine if it was approved by the government. What steps would you take to give Americans confidence in a vaccine if it were approved?
Make sure it's totally transparent. Have the scientists of the world see it, know it, look at it, go through all the processes. And by the way, this is the same fellow who told you this is going to end by Easter last time. This is the same fellow who told you that, don't worry, we're going to end this by the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter. And he has no clear plan, and there's no prospect that there's going to be a vaccine available for the majority of the American people before the middle of next year.
President Trump, your reaction, he says you have no
We're
plan.
going to have a dark winter at all. We're opening up our country. We've learned and studied and understand the disease, which we didn't at the beginning. When I closed and banned China from coming in heavily infected, and then ultimately Europe, but China was in January. Months later, he was saying I was xenophobic. I did it too soon. Now he's saying, oh, I should have, moved quicker. But he didn't move quicker. He was months behind me, many months behind me. And frankly, he ran the H1N1 swine flu, and it was a total disaster, far less lethal, but it was a total disaster. Had that had this kind of numbers, 700,000 people would be dead right now, but it was a far less lethal disease. Look, his own person who ran that for him, who, as you know, was his chief of staff, said it was catastrophic. It was horrible. We didn't know what we were doing. Now he comes up and he tells us how to do this. Also, everything that he said about the way every single move that he said we should make, that's what we've done. We've done all of it. But he was way behind us.
Vice President Biden, your response.
My response is he is xenophobic, but not because he shut down access from China. And he did it late after 40 countries had already done that. In addition to that, what he did, he made sure that we had 44 people that were in there in China trying to get to Wuhan to determine what exactly the source was. What did the president say in January? He said, no, he said, he's being transparent. The president of China is being transparent. We owe him a debt of gratitude. We have to thank him. And then what happened was we started talking about using the Defense Act to make sure we go out and get whatever is needed out there to protect people. And again, I go back to this. He had nothing. He did virtually nothing. And then he gets out of the hospital and he talks about don't worry. it's all going to be over soon. Come on. There's not another serious scientist in the world who thinks it's going to be over soon.
President Trump, your
I
reaction?
say over soon. I say we're learning to live with it. We have no choice. We can't lock ourselves up in a basement like Joe does. He has the ability to lock himself up. I don't know. He's obviously made a lot of money someplace, but he has this thing about living in a basement. People can't do that. By the way, I, as the president, couldn't do that. I'd love to put myself in the basement or in a beautiful room in the White House and go away for a year and a half until it disappears. I can't do that. And Kirsten, every meeting I had, and I'd meet a lot of families, including Gold Star families and military families. Every meeting I had, and I had to meet them. I had to. It would be horrible to have canceled everything. I said, you know, this is dangerous. And you catch it. And, you know, I caught it. I learned a lot. Great doctors, great hospitals. And now I recovered. 99.9 of young people recover. 99% of people recover. We have to recover. We can't close up our nation. We have to open our school, and we can't close up our nation, or you're not going to have a nation.
And of course, the CDC has said young people can get sick with COVID-19 and can pass it. Vice President Biden, I want to talk broadly about strategy, though. You have
Can I respond to that?
30 seconds, please, and then I have a
30 seconds.
question.
No, number one, he says that we're learning to live with it. People are learning to die with it. You folks home will have an empty chair at the kitchen table this morning. That man or wife going to bed tonight and reaching over to try to touch their, out of habit, where their wife or husband was, is gone. Learning to live with it. Come on. We're dying with it because he's never said, you said it's dangerous. When's the last time? Is it really
Trump
dangerous
fucking
still?
up.
We're dangerous? You're telling people it's dangerous now? What should they do about the danger? And you say, I take no responsibility.
Let me talk about your two.
Excuse me, I
very quickly.
take full responsibility. It's not my fault that he came here. It's China's fault. And you know what? It's not Joe's fault that he came here either. It's China's fault. They kept it from going into the rest of China for the most part, but they didn't keep it from coming out to the world, including Europe and ourselves.
Vice President Biden.
The fact is that when we knew it was coming, when it hit, what happened? What did the president say? He said, don't worry, it's going to go away. Be gone by Easter. Don't worry. The warm weather. Don't worry. Maybe inject bleach. He said he was kidding when he said that, but a lot of people thought it was serious. A whole range of things the president has said. Even today, he thinks we are in control. We're about to lose 200,000 more people.
President Trump.
Look,
Hit them like button and shut alive.
I was kidding on that, but just to finish this, when I closed, he said I shouldn't have closed. And that went on for months. What Nancy Pelosi said the same thing. She was dancing on the streets in Chinatown in San Francisco. But when I closed, he said, this is a terrible thing. You're xenophobic. I think he called me racist even. And because I was closing it to China. Now he says I should have closed it earlier. It just, Joe, it doesn't work.
I didn't say either of those things.
You certainly did. You certainly did.
I talked about a xenophobia in a different context. It wasn't about closing the border to Chinese coming to the United States.
All right, I want to talk about both of your different strategies to handle.
He thought I shouldn't have closed the border.
Well,
that's obvious.
Do you want to respond to that quickly, Vice President
No.
Biden? Okay. Let's talk about your different strategies toward dealing with this. Mr. Vice President, you suggested you would support new shutdowns if scientists recommended it. What do you say to Americans who are fearful that the cost of shutdowns, the impact on the economy, the higher rates of hunger, depression, domestic and substance abuse outweighs the risk of exposure to the virus?
What I would say is I'm going to shut down the virus, not the country. It's his ineptitude that caused the country to have to shut down in large part. Why businesses have gone under, why schools are closed, why so many people have lost their living, and why they're concerned. Those other concerns are real. That's why he should have been, instead of in a sand trap in his golf course, he should have been negotiating with Nancy Pelosi and the rest of the Democrats and Republicans about what to do about the acts they were passing for billions of dollars to make sure people had the capacity.
But you haven't ruled out more shutdowns.
Well, no, I'm not shutting down the name, but there are, look, you need standards. The standard is if you have a reproduction rate in a community that's above a certain level, everybody says, slow up, more social distancing, do not open bars and do not open gymnasiums, do not open until you get this under control, under more control. But when you do open, give the people the capacity to be able to open and have the capacity to do it safely. For example, schools. Schools, they need a lot of money to open. They need to deal with ventilation systems. They need to deal with smaller classes, more teachers, more pods. And he's refused to support that money, or at least up to now.
Let's talk about schools. President
Well,
Trump,
I
you-
think we have to respond, if I might.
please, and then I have a follow-up.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Look, all he does is talk about shutdowns, but forget about him. His Democrat governors, Cuomo in New York, you look at what's going on in California, you look at Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Democrats all, they're shut down so tight and they're dying. They're dying. And he supports all these people. All he talks about is shutdowns. No, we're not going to shut down, and we have to open our schools. And it's like, as an example, I have a young son. He also tested positive. By the time I spoke to the doctor the second time, he was fine. It just went away. Young people, I guess it's their immune system.
Let me follow up with you, President Trump. You've demanded
downplaying
schools
it.
open in person
Crazy.
and insist they can do it safely. But just yesterday, Boston became the latest city to move its public school system entirely online after a coronavirus spike. What is your message to parents who worry that sending their children to school will endanger not only their kids, but also their teachers and families?
I want to open the schools. The transmittal rate to the teachers is very small, but I want to open the schools. We have to
Very
open
small.
our country. We're not going to have a country. You can't do this. We can't keep this country closed. This is a massive country with a massive economy. People are losing their jobs. They're committing suicide. There's depression, alcohol, drugs at a level that nobody's ever seen before. There's abuse, tremendous abuse. We have to open our country. You know, I've said it often. The cure cannot be worse than the problem itself. And that's what's happening. And he wants to close down. He'll close down the country if one person in our massive bureaucracy says we should close it down.
Vice President Biden, your
Simply
response.
not true. We ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We ought to be able to safely open, but when they need resources to open.
Like that.
You need to be able to, for example, if you're going to open a business, have social distancing within the business. You need to have, if you have a restaurant, you need to have plexiglass dividers so people cannot infect one another. You need to be in a position where you can take testing rapidly and know whether a person is in fact infected. You need to be able to trace. You need to be able to provide all the resources that are needed to do this. And that is not inconsistent with saying that what we're going to make sure that we open safely. And by the way, all you teachers out there, not that many of you are going to die, so don't worry about it. So don't worry about it.
Wow.
President Trump, let me follow up with you quickly.
By the way, I will say this. If you go and look at what's happened to New York, it's a ghost town. It's a ghost town. And when you talk about plexiglass, these are restaurants that are dying. These are businesses with no money. Putting a plexiglass is unbelievably expensive, and it's not the answer. I mean, you're going to sit there in a cubicle wrapped around with plastic. These are businesses that are dying, Joe. You can't do that to people. You just can't. Take a look at New York and what's happened to my wonderful city for so many years. I loved it. It was vibrant. It's dying. Everyone's leaving New York.
Take a look
Vice
at what
President
New
Biden.
York has done in terms of turning the curve down in terms of the number of people dying. And I don't look at this in terms of the way he does. Blue states and red states. They're all the United States. And look at the states that are having such a spike in the coronavirus. They're the red states. They're the states in the Midwest. They're the states in the upper Midwest. That's where the spike is occurring significantly. But they're all Americans. They're all Americans. And what we have to do is say, wear these masks, number one. Make sure we get the help that the businesses need that has money's already been passed to do that. It's been out there since the beginning of the summer and nothing's happened.
President, New York has lost more than 40,000 people, 11,000 people in nursing homes.
President Trump, what
When you
about
say spike, take a look at what's happening in Pennsylvania, where they've had it closed. Take a look at what's happening with your friend in Michigan, where her husband's the only one allowed to do anything. It's been like a prison. Now it was just ruled unconstitutional. Take a look at North Carolina. They're having spikes and they've been closed and they're getting killed financially. We can't let that happen, Joe. You can't let that happen. We have to open up And we understand the disease. We have to protect our seniors. We have to protect our elderly. We have to protect especially our seniors with heart problems and diabetes problems. And we will protect them. We have the best testing in the world by far. That's why we have so many cases.
Let me follow up with you before we move on to our next section. President Trump, this week you called Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's best known infectious disease expert, quote, a disaster. You described him and other medical experts as, quote, idiots. If you're not listening to them, who are you listening to as you fight this?
I'm listening to all of them, including Anthony. I get along very well with Anthony, but he did say, don't wear masks. He did say, as you know, this is not going to be
Throwing
a
them under
problem.
the bus, boy.
I think he's a Democrat, but that's okay. He said, this is not going to be a problem. We are not going to have a problem at all. When Joe says that, I said, Anthony Fauci said, and others, and many others, and I'm not knocking him a lot. Nobody knew. Look, nobody knew what this thing was. Nobody knew where it was coming from, what it was. We've learned a lot. But Anthony said, don't wear masks. Now he wants to wear masks. Anthony also said, if you look back, exact words, here's his exact words. This is no problem. This is going to go away soon. So he's allowed to make mistakes. He happens to be a good person.
Vice President Biden, your response quickly, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
My response is that think about what the president knew in January and didn't tell the American people. He was told this was a serious virus that spread in the air, and it was much worse than the flu. He went on record and said to one of your colleagues, recorded, that in fact he knew how dangerous it was, but he didn't want to tell us. He didn't want to tell us because he didn't want us to panic. He didn't want to say, Americans don't panic. He panicked. But guess what? In the meantime, we found out in the New York Times the other day that, in fact, his folks went to Wall Street and said this is a really dangerous thing. And a memo out of that meeting, not from his administration, but from some of the brokers, said sell short because we got to get moving. It's a dangerous problem.
Well, this is
I'm going to give you 30 seconds to respond, and then we're
the
going
Wall
to
Street
move
one,
on.
I don't know. Somebody went to Wall Street. You're the one that takes all the money from Wall Street. I don't take it.
I have.
You have raised a lot of money, tremendous amounts of money. And every time you raise money, deals are made, Joe. I could raise so much more money as president and as somebody that knows most of those people. I could call the heads of Wall Street, the heads of every company in America. I would blow away every record, but I don't want to do that because it puts me in a bad position. And then you bring up Wall Street. You shouldn't be bringing up Wall Street because you're the one that takes the money from Wall Street, not me. I could blow away your records that like you wouldn't believe. We don't need money. We have plenty of money. In fact, we beat Hillary Clinton with a tiny fraction of the money that she was able to.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to move
Don't tell me
on.
about Wall
Average
Street.
contribution, $43.
All right, we're going to move on to our next section, which is national security. And I do want to start with the security of our elections and some breaking news from overnight. Just last night, top intelligence officials confirmed again that both Russia and Iran are working to influence this election. Both countries have obtained U.S. voter registration information, these officials say, and Iran sent intimidating messages to Florida voters. This question goes to you, Mr. Vice President. What would you do to put an end to this threat? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
I made it clear, and I ask everyone else to take the pledge. I made it clear that any country, no matter who it is, that interferes in American elections will pay a price. They will pay a price. And it's been overwhelmingly clear this election, I won't even get into the last one, this election, that Russia has been involved, China has been involved to some degree, and now we learn that Iran is involved. They will pay a price if I'm elected. They're interfering with American sovereignty. That's what's going on right now. They're interfering with American sovereignty. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think the president said anything to Putin about it. I don't think he's stalking them a lot. I don't think he said a word. I don't know why he hadn't said a word to Putin about it. And I don't know what he has recently said, if anything, to the Iranians. My guess is he'd probably be more outspoken with regard to the Iranians. But the point is this, folks. We are in a situation where we have foreign countries trying to interfere in the outcome of our election. His own national security advisor told him that what is happening with his buddy, I will. His buddy, Rudy Giuliani, he's being used as a Russian pawn. He's being fed information that is Russian, that is not true. And then what happens? Nothing happens. And then you find out that everything that's going on here about Russia is wanting to make sure that I do not get elected the next president of the United States because they know I know them and they know me. I don't understand why this president is unwilling to take on Putin when he's actually
That's
paying
true.
bounties
That's
to
true
kill
right there.
American soldiers in Afghanistan, when he's engaged in activities that are trying to destabilize all of NATO. I don't know why he doesn't do it, but it's worth asking the question. Why isn't that being done? Any country that interferes with us will, in fact, pay a price because they're affecting our sovereignty.
President Trump, same question to you.
have to
Let me
respond.
ask the
Yeah.
question. You're going to have 2 minutes to respond. For 2 elections in a row now, there has been substantial interference from foreign adversaries. What would you do in your next term to put an end to this? 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Well, let me respond to the first part as Joe answered. Joe got $3.5 million from Russia, and it came through Putin because he was very friendly with the former
Wow.
mayor of Moscow, and it was the mayor of Moscow's wife, and he
Dropping
got $3.5 million.
dimes.
Your family got $3.5 million, and you know, someday you're going to have to explain why did you get 3.5. I never got any money from Russia. I don't get money from Russia. Now, about your thing last night, I knew all about that, and through John Ratcliffe, who is fantastic, DNI, he said the one thing that's common to both of them, they both want you to lose, because there has been nobody tougher to Russia between the sanctions, nobody tougher than me on Russia. Between the sanctions, between all of what I've done with NATO, you know, I've got the NATO countries to put up an extra 130 billion, going to $420 billion a year. That's to guard against Russia. I sold, while he was selling pillows and sheets, I sold tank busters to Ukraine. There has been nobody tougher on Russia than Donald Trump. And I'll tell you, they were so bad. They took over the submarine port. You remember that very well. During your term, during you and Barack Obama, they took over a big part of what should have been Ukraine. You handed it to them, but you were getting a lot of money from Russia. They were paying you a lot of money, and they probably still are. But now, with what came out today, it's even worse. All of the emails, the horrible emails of the kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family. And Joe, you were vice president when some of this was happening, and it should have never happened. And I think you owe an explanation to the American people. Why is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family, but what he said was damning. And regardless of me, I think you have to clean it up and talk to the American people. Maybe you can do it right now.
Vice President Biden, you may respond in 30
Be straight
seconds.
here.
And then I do want to follow up on the election security.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact is talking about me taking money. I have not taken a single penny from any
Trump want
country
to whoop his ass.
ever. Number one. Number two, this is a president, I have released all of my tax returns, 22 years. Go look at them. 22 years of my tax return. You have not released a single solitary year of your tax return. What are you hiding? Why are you unwilling? The foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country, all around the world. And China's building a new road to a new a golf course you have overseas. So what's going on here? Why don't release your tax return or stop talking about corruption?
President Trump, your response.
First of all, I called my accountants under audit. I'm going to release them as soon as we can. I want to do it. And
You're a
it'll show
liar,
how
man.
successful, how great this company is. But much more importantly than that, people were saying $750. I asked them a week ago, I said, what did I pay? They said, sir, you prepaid tens of millions of dollars. I prepaid my tax, tens over the last number of years, tens of millions of dollars I prepaid, because at some point they think it's an estimate. They think I may have to pay tax. So I already prepaid it. Nobody told me that.
Did your accountant
Nobody
tell you
told
when
you
you
that.
could release
Excuse
them?
me. And it wasn't written whenever they wrote this. They keep talking about $750, which I think is a filing fee. But let me just tell you, I prepaid millions and millions of dollars in taxes. Number one. Number two, I don't make money from China. You do. I don't make money from Ukraine. You do. I don't make money from Russia. You made $3.5 million, Joe, and your son gave you. They even have a statement that we have to give 10%
You bring
to
it
the
as
big
kid,
man.
man.
You're the big man, I think. I don't know. Maybe you're not, but you're the big man, I think. Your son said we have to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about? It's terrible.
All right, gentlemen, I want to ask you both some questions
I have to
about all of this.
respond to
But
that.
I'm
Heat
going to let
up
you
now.
both respond very quickly. You just said you spoke to your accountant
Yes.
about potentially releasing your taxes. Did he tell you when you can release them? Do you
As
have a
soon as the audit is
deadline for
finished.
when you're going to release
I
them?
get
Soon as I get
treated
elected.
worse than the Tea Party got treated. Because
you
I have a
don't
lot
have
of
a
people in there, deep down in the IRS, they treat me horribly. We made a deal, it was all settled until I decide to run for president. I get treated very badly by the IRS, very unfairly. But we had a deal all done. As soon as
Throwing
we're
the
complete
IRS
with the
under the
deal,
bus.
I want to release it. But I have paid millions and millions of dollars, and it's worse than paying. I paid in advance. It's called prepaying your taxes. I paid in advance.
I want to ask you
Sir.
both about questions regarding your potential foreign entanglements and questions that have been raised to give you both a chance
Some
to
point
talk
I'll
about
respond
this
to
more
this.
broadly. Respond very quickly, and then I'll get to my question.
Why did he's been saying this for 4 years? Show us. Just show us. Stop playing around. You've been saying for 4 years
Everybody
you're going to
knows
release
it.
your taxes. Nobody knows it, Mr. President. What they do
Okay.
know is you're not paying your taxes, or you're paying taxes that are so low. When last time he said what he paid, he said, I only pay that little because I'm smart. I know how to game the system. Come on. Come on, folks.
Very
So
quickly, President Trump, and then I want to get to two
Yeah.
questions to both of you on this.
I was put through a phony witch hunt for 3 years. It started before I even got elected. They spied on my campaign. No president should ever have to go through what I went through. Let me just say this. Mueller and 18 angry Democrats and FBI agents all over the place spent $48 million. They went through everything I had, including my tax returns, and they found absolutely no collusion and nothing wrong. 48 million. I guarantee you, if I spent 1 million on you, Joe, I could find plenty wrong, because
All
the
right.
kind of things that you've done and the kind of monies that your family has taken. I mean, your brother made money in Iraq,
Let me-
millions of dollars. Your other brother made a fortune, and it's all through you, Joe. And they say you get some of it, and you do live very well. You have houses all over the place. You live very well.
All right, gentlemen, let me just ask
Oh,
some
man.
questions about all of this broadly. Vice President Biden, there have been questions about the work your son has done in China and for a Ukrainian energy company when you were vice president. In retrospect, was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
Nothing was unethical. Here's what the deal. With regard to Ukraine, we had this whole question about whether or not, because he was on the board, I later learned of a Burisma, a company, that somehow I had done something wrong. Yet every single solitary person, when he was going through his impeachment, testifying under oath who worked for him, said, I did my job impeccably. I carried out U.S. policy. Not one single solitary thing was out of line. Not a single thing, number one. Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me, which they would not do and did not do, because it never, ever, ever happened. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about? China. I have not had it. The only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
Never
President
to
Trump,
deal with
let me
China.
let me
By the
ask
way,
my question to you.
But
and
could
then
I just
you'll-
one thing?
very quickly?
His son didn't have a job for a long time, was sadly no longer in the military service. I won't get into that. And he didn't have a job. As soon as he became vice president, Burisma, not the best reputation in the world. I hear they paid him $183,000 a month. Listen to this. 183, and they gave him a $3 million upfront payment.
All right.
And he had no energy.
I'm going to let the vice president
That's
respond to that quickly,
100%
and then I need to get to a
dishonest.
question to you. Very
No
quickly, Mr.
basis
Vice
for that. Everybody investigated that. No one said anything he did was wrong in Ukraine.
Okay, President Trump, this is for you. Since you took office, you've never divested from your business. You've personally promoted your properties abroad. A report this week, which was referenced, does indicate that your company has a bank account in China. So how can voters know that you don't have any foreign conflicts of interest?
I have many bank accounts, and they're all listed, and they're all over the place. I mean, I was a businessman doing business. The bank account you're referring to, which is everybody knows about it, it's listed. The bank account was in 2013. That's what it was. It was opened it was closed in 2015, I believe. And then I decided, because I was thinking about doing a deal in China, like millions of other people. I was thinking about it, and I decided I'm not going to do it. Didn't like it. I decided not to do it. Had an account open, and I closed it.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then, unlike him, where he's vice president and he does business, I then decided to run for president after that. That was before. So I closed it before I even ran for president, let alone became president. Big difference. He is the vice president of the United States, and his son, his brother, and his other brother are getting rich. They're like a vacuum cleaner. They're sucking
Okay,
up money every
President Trump,
place he
thank you. We
goes.
do need
Not
to move
true.
on. I do want to ask you, Vice President Biden, about China. Let's talk about China more broadly. There have, of course, President Trump has said that they should pay for not being fully transparent in regards to the coronavirus. If you were president, would you make China pay? And please be specific. What would that look like?
What I'd make China do is play by the international rules, not like he has done. He has caused the deficit of China to go up, not down, with China, up, not down. We are making sure that in order to do business in China, you have to give all your intellectual property. You have to have a partner in China. It's 51%. We would not do that at all, number one. Number two, we're in a situation where China would have to play by the rules internationally as well. When I met with Xi, when I was still vice president, he said we're setting up air identification zones in the South China Sea. You can't fly through them. I said, we're going to fly through them. We just flew B-52, B-1 bombers through it. We're not going to pay attention. They have to play by the rules. And what's he do? He embraces guys like the thugs like in North Korea and the Chinese president and Putin and others. And he pokes his finger in the eye of all of our friends, all of our allies. We make up we're 25% of the world's economy. We need to be having the rest of our friends with us saying to China, these are the rules. You play by them or you're going to pay the price for not paying by them economically. That's the way I will run it. And that's what we did in upholding steel tariffs and a range of other things when we were president and vice president.
All right, let's talk about North Korea.
Excuse me, no, I have to
Yes.
respond to that.
Okay, very quickly, and
His
then we're
son
going to move
walked
on
out
to
with
North
$1.5 billion
Korea.
from China to
Not
manage after
true.
spending 10 minutes in office and being in Air Force Two, number one. Number two, there's a very strong email talking about your family wanting to make $10 million a year for introductions.
President Trump, on China policy,
true.
though, what
No, but wait a
specifically are
minute.
you going to do? What specifically are you going to do to make China pay? You've said you're going
First
to
of
make them
all,
pay.
China is paying. They're paying billions and billions of dollars. I just gave
New
$28 billion.
sanctions? New sanctions?
I just gave $28 billion to our farmers.
Taxpayers'
China,
money.
It's what?
Taxpayers' money. Didn't come from
Yeah,
China.
you know who the taxpayer is. It's called China. China
Not
paid
true.
$28 billion, and you know what they did to pay it, Joe? They devalued their currency, and they also paid up. And you know who got the money? Our farmers, our great farmers, because they were targeted. You never charged them anything. Also, I charged them 25% on dumped steel because they were killing our steel industry. We were not going to have a steel industry.
Okay.
And now we have a steel
Okay,
industry.
Vice President Biden, your response, please.
Our response is, look, this isn't about, there's a reason why he's bringing up all this malarkey. There's a reason for it. He doesn't want to talk about the substantive issues. It's not about his family and my family. It's about your family. And your family's hurting badly. If you're making if you're a middle-class family, you're getting hurt badly right now. You're sitting at the kitchen table this morning deciding, well, we can't get new tires, they're bald because we have to wait another month or so. Or are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Or who's going to tell her she can't go back to community college? They're the decisions you're making. And the middle-class families like I grew up in Scranton and Claymont, they're in trouble. We should be talking about your families, but that's the last thing he wants to talk about.
I want
That is a
to talk
typical
about
statement.
North Korea.
Excuse me,
I
just
do
for
want
1
to turn
second,
to
please.
10 seconds, Mr. President,
That's
10
a
seconds.
typical political statement. Let's get off this China thing. And then he looks, the family, around the table, everything. Just a
Right.
typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk
I'm
about
not
North
a typical
Korea now.
politician.
Okay,
That's why I
President
got elected.
Let's
get off the subject of China. Let's talk sitting around the table.
All right.
Come on, Joe, you can do better.
We're going to talk about North Korea now. President Trump, you've met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un 3 times. You've talked about your beautiful letters with him. You've touted the fact that there hasn't been a war or a long-range missile test. And yet North Korea recently rolled out its biggest ever intercontinental ballistic missile and continues to develop its nuclear arsenal. Do you see that as a betrayal of the relationship you
No.
forged? Just 30 seconds here because we need to get on to the next.
So when I met with Barack Obama. We sat in the White House right at the beginning, had a great conversation. It was supposed to be 15 minutes, and it was well over an hour. He said the biggest problem we have with North Korea. He indicated we will be in a war with North Korea. Guess what? It would be a nuclear war, and he does have plenty of nuclear capability. In the meantime, I have a very good relationship with him. Different kind of a guy, but he probably thinks the same thing about me. We have a different kind of a relationship. We have a very good relationship, and there's no war. And you know, about 2 months ago, he broke into a certain area. They said, oh, there's going to be trouble. I said, no, they're not, because he's not going to do that. And I was right. Look, instead of being in a war where millions of people, Seoul, you know, is 25 miles away, millions and millions, 32 million people in Seoul, millions of people would be dead right now.
President
We
Trump,
don't have a
that's
war,
30
and I have a
seconds.
good
Thank
relationship.
you. Vice President Biden, to you, North Korea conducted 4 nuclear tests under the Obama administration. Why do you think you would be able to rein in this persistent threat right
Because
now?
I'd make it clear, which we were making clear to China, they had to be part of the deal, because here's I made it clear, and as a spokesperson of the administration when I went to China, that they said, why are you moving your missile defense up so close? Why are you moving more forces here? Why are you continuing to do military maneuvers with South Korea? I said, because North Korea is a problem, and we're going to continue to do it so we can control them. We're going to make sure we can control them and make sure they cannot hurt us. And so if you want to do something about it, step up and help. If not, it's going to continue. What has he done? He's legitimized North Korea. He's talked about his good buddy, who's a thug, and he talks about how we're better off, and they have much more capable missiles, able to reach U.S. territory much more easily than ever did before.
Let me follow up with you, Vice President Biden. You've said you wouldn't meet with Kim Jong-un without preconditions. Are there any conditions under which you would meet with him?
On the condition that he would agree that he would be drawing down his nuclear capacity to get that the Korean Peninsula should be nuclear-free zone.
All right, let's move on to American families.
Kristen, they tried
Very
to
quickly,
meet with
10
him.
seconds,
They
President.
tried to meet with him. He wouldn't do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay, I
know
got to
for a
give him a
fact they
chance to
tried.
respond to that
He
before we
wouldn't
move
do
on.
it.
You
And
know,
that's okay. You know what? North Korea, we're not in a war. We have a good relationship. You know, people don't understand. Having a good
President
relationship
Trump,
with
we have
leaders
to
of
move
other
on because
countries
we have
is
a lot
a
of
good
countries.
thing.
We have a lot of questions to get
Yes,
to.
not
That's
Your
like
response.
saying we had a good relationship with Hitler before he, in fact, invaded
Damn.
Europe, the rest of Europe. Come on. The reason he would not meet with President Obama is because President Obama said, we're going to talk about denuclearization. We're not going to legitimize you, and we're going to continue to put stronger and stronger sanctions on you. That's why he wouldn't meet with us.
All right,
And
let's
it didn't
move
happen.
on. Let's
Excuse
move on
me.
and talk about
He left
American
me a
families.
mess, Kristen.
President Trump, okay, we do
They
need to move
left
on.
me a mess. North Korea was a mess.
We
And
need
in fact,
to
if
move on
you
so that
remember
we
the
can get
first
to
2
all
or
of
3
our
months,
questions tonight,
there was a
President
very
Trump.
dangerous period in my first 3 months before we sort of worked things out a little bit.
Okay.
There was a they left us a mess. And Obama would be, I think, the first to say it was the single biggest problem he thought that our country.
Okay, let's move on to American families and the economy. One of the issues that's most important to them is healthcare, as you both know. Today, there was a key vote on a new Supreme Court Justice, Amy Coney Barrett, and healthcare is at the center of her confirmation fight. Over 20 million Americans get their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. It's headed to the Supreme Court, and your administration, Mr. President, is advocating for the court to overturn it. If the Supreme Court does overturn that law, those 20 million Americans could lose their health insurance almost overnight. So what would you do if those people have their health insurance taken away? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Sure. First of all, I've already done something that nobody thought was possible. Through the legislature, I terminated the individual mandate. That is the worst part of Obamacare, as we call it. The individual mandate where you have to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. I terminated. It's gone. Now it's in court because Obamacare is no good. But then I made a decision, run it as well as you can to my people, great people. Run it as well as you can. I could have gone the other route and made everybody very unhappy. They ran it. Premiums are down. Everything's down. Here's the problem. No matter how well you run it, it's no good. What we'd like to do is terminate it. We have the individual mandate done. I don't know that it's going to work. If we don't win, we will have to run it and we'll have Obamacare, but it'll be better run. But it no longer is Obamacare because without the individual mandate, it's much different. Pre-existing conditions will always stay. What I would like to do is a much better healthcare, much better, will always protect people with pre-existing. So I'd like to terminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful healthcare. The Democrats will do it because there'll be tremendous pressure on them, and we might even have the House by that time. And I think we're going to win the House, okay? You'll see, but I think we're going to win the House. But come up with a better healthcare, always protecting people with pre-existing conditions. And one thing very important, we have 180 million people out there that have great private healthcare. Far more than we're talking about with Obamacare. Joe Biden is going to terminate all of those policies. These are people that love their health care, people that have been successful, middle-income people, been successful. They have 180 million plans, 180 million people, families, under what he wants to do, which will basically be socialized medicine. He won't even have a choice. They want to terminate 180 million plans. We have done an incredible job, and we're going to do even better.
Okay,
Let me
Vice
respond.
President Biden, yes, this is for you. Your healthcare plan calls for building on Obamacare. So my question is, what is your plan if the law is ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
What I'm going to do is pass Obamacare with a public option. It'll become Biden care. The public option is an option that says that if you, in fact, do not have the wherewithal to be, if you qualify for Medicaid and you do not have the wherewithal in your state to get Medicaid, you automatically are enrolled, providing competition for insurance companies. That's what's going to happen. Secondly, we're going to make sure we reduce the premiums and reduce drug prices by making sure that there's competition that doesn't exist now by allowing the Medicare to negotiate drug prices with the insurance companies. Thirdly, the idea that I want to eliminate private insurance, the reason why I had such a fight with 20 candidates for the nomination was I support private insurance. That's why I didn't, not one single person with private insurance would lose their insurance under my plan, nor did they under Obamacare. They did not lose their insurance unless they chose they wanted to go to something else. Lastly, we're going to make sure we're in a situation that we actually protect pre-existing. There's no way he can protect pre-existing conditions. None, zero. You can't do it in the ether. He's been talking about this for a long time. He's never come up with a plan. I guess we're going to get the pre-existing condition plan the same time we get the infrastructure plan that we've been waiting since 17, 18, 19, and 20. The fact, I still have a few more minutes. I know you're getting anxious. The fact is that he's already cost the American people, because of his terrible handling of the COVID virus and the economic spillover, 10 million people have lost their private insurance. And he wants to take away 22 million more people who have it under Obamacare, and over 110 million people with pre-existing conditions. And all the people from COVID are going to have pre-existing conditions. What are they going to do?
I have a follow-up for you, Vice President Biden. It relates to something that President Trump said. He's accusing you of wanting socialized medicine. What do you say to people who have concerns that your health care plan, which includes a government insurance option, takes the country one step closer to a health care system run entirely by the government? What's your response
I say it's
to them?
ridiculous. It's like saying that, the idea that the fact that there's a public option that people can choose, that makes it a socialist plan. Look, the difference between the president, I think healthcare is not a privilege, it's a right. Everyone should have the right to have affordable healthcare. And I am very proud of my plan. It's gotten endorsed by all the major labor unions, as well as a whole range of other people who, in fact, are concerned in the medical field. This is something that's going to save people's lives, and this is going to give some people an opportunity to have health care for their children. How many of you home are worried and rolling around in bed tonight wondering what in God's name you're going to do if you get sick because you've lost your home insurance, your health insurance, your company's gone under? We have to provide health insurance for people at an affordable rate, and that's what I do.
President Trump,
Excuse me, he was
your
there
response.
for 47 years. He didn't do it. He was now there as vice president for 8 years. And it's not like it was 25 years ago. It was 3 3/4. It was just a little while ago, right? Less than 4 years ago. He didn't do anything. He didn't do it. He wants socialized medicine. And it's not that he wants it. His vice president, I mean, she is more liberal than Bernie Sanders and wants it even more. Bernie Sanders wants it. The Democrats want it. You're going to have socialized medicine, just like you want it with fracking. we're not going to have fracking. We're going to stop fracking. We're going to stop fracking. Then he goes to Pennsylvania after he gets a nomination where he got very lucky to get it. And he goes to Pennsylvania and he says, oh, we're going to have fracking. And you never ask that question. And by the way, so far, I respect very much the way you're handling this, I have to say.
By the way.
But somebody should ask the question.
You can ask.
He goes for a year. There will be
We
no
have
fracking. There
we
will
do
be
have
no
a number of
petroleum.
topics
No,
we're
no,
going to
but
get
that's a
to.
big- that's a big question.
We're going to get to
It's
It's the same thing with socialized
I have to
medicine.
respond.
Vice President, your response, please.
My response is people deserve to have affordable health care, period, 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 period. And the Biden care proposal will, in fact, provide for that affordable health care, lower premiums. What we're going to do is going to cost some money. It's going to cost over $750 billion over 10 years to do it. And they're going to have lower premiums. You can buy into the better plans, the cheaper plans, lower your premiums, deal with unexpected billing, and have your drug prices drop significantly. He keeps talking about it. He hasn't done a thing for anybody on healthcare. Not a thing.
Tristan, when
Very
he
quickly,
says,
then I want to talk
when
about
he
what's
says
happening on
public
Capitol
option,
Hill.
he's talking about socialized medicine. And when he and healthcare, when he talks about a public option, he's talking about destroying your Medicare, totally
Wrong.
destroyed, and destroying your Social Security. And this whole country will come down. You know, Bernie Sanders tried it in
Bernie.
his state. He tried it in his state. His governor was a very liberal governor. They wanted to make it work.
Okay,
It-
let's
it was
let Vice President
impossible
Biden
to work.
respond.
It doesn't
Vice
work.
President
He's
Biden,
a very
your
confused
response.
guy. He thinks he's running against somebody else. He's running against Joe Biden. I beat all those other people because I disagreed with them. Joe Biden he's running against. And the idea that we're in a situation that they're going to destroy Medicare, this is the guy that the actuary at Medicare said, if in fact, at Social Security, if in fact he continues to withhold his plan to withhold the tax on Social Security, Social Security will be bankrupt by 2023 with no way to make up for it. This is the guy who's tried to cut Medicare. So no, I mean, the idea that Donald Trump is lecturing me on Social Security and Medicare, come on.
He tried to get
10
rid of, he
seconds, Mr.
tried to hurt
President, and then I
Social
have to go to
Security
another
years
question.
ago. Years ago. Go back and look at the records. He tried to hurt Social Security years ago.
All
One
right,
thing,
let's move
but
on.
this
I'm
is
going to
the
move
guy
on.
that
Let
when
me,
they
Mr.
announced
President, I have
last
to move
week,
on to the next question.
They said
or
the
else
stock
we're not
market
gonna have
will
time to
boom
talk about it.
if I'm elected. If he's elected, the stock market will crash.
Okay, let's
biggest
move on to the
analysts are
next
saying that.
question
Let me respond.
very quickly.
Look, the idea that the stock market is booming is his only measure of what's happening. Where I come from in Scranton and Claremont, the people don't live off of the stock market. Just in the last three years during this crisis, the billionaires in this country made, according to the Wall Street, $700 billion more dollars. $700 billion more dollars, because that's his only measure. What happens to the ordinary people out there? What happens to them?
Let's talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill. We're going to
Kristen,
move on, gentlemen.
401ks are through the roof.
We're gonna
People's
move on.
stock are through the roof.
All
And
right.
he doesn't come from Scranton. That's like he lived there for a short period
We're gonna-
of time before he
okay,
even knew
we're
it.
gonna move on to
and
the
he
next
left.
question.
And the people of Pennsylvania
Let me
will
move
show
on
you
to my
that.
next question,
They
gentlemen.
understand.
As of tonight, more than 12 million people are out of work. And as of tonight, 8 million more Americans have fallen into poverty, and more families are going hungry every day. Those hit hardest are women and people of color. They see Washington fighting over a relief bill. Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
But you're the president.
I do, but I still have to get. Unfortunately, that's one of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House, because of her. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve anything because she'd love to have some victories on a date called November 3rd. Nancy Pelosi does not want to approve it. We are ready, willing, and able to do something. Don't forget, we've already approved 3 plans, and it's gone through, including the Democrats, in all fairness. This one she doesn't want. It's near the election because she thinks it helps her politically. I think it hurts her politically.
All right,
By the
Mr.
way,
Vice President,
you know, the Republican leader in the United States Senate said he can't pass it. He will not be able to pass it. He does not have Republican votes. Why isn't he talking to his Republican friends?
let me follow up with you, Vice President
we made a
Biden,
deal, the
because
Republicans
let me
will
ask
pass
Vice
it.
President Biden a question. You are the leader of the Democratic Party. Why have you not pushed the Democrats to get a deal for the American people?
Well, I have, and they have pushed it. Look, they passed this act all the way back in the beginning of the summer. This is like it's not new. It's been out there. This HEROES Act has been sitting there. And look at what's happening. When I was in charge of the Recovery Act with $800 billion, I was able to get $145 billion to local communities that have to balance their budgets and states that have to balance their budgets. So then have to fire firefighters, teachers, first responders, law enforcement officers, so they can keep their cities and counties running. He will not support that. They have not done a thing for them. And Mitch McConnell said, let them go bankrupt. Let them go bankrupt. Come on. What's the matter with
The
these
bill that was
guys?
passed in the House was a bailout of badly run, high crime, Democrat, all run by Democrats, cities and states. It was a way of getting a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars to these kids. It was also a way of getting a lot of money from our people's pockets to people that come into our country illegally. We were going to take care of everything for them. And what that does, and I'd love to do that, I'd love to help them, but what that does, everybody all over the world will start pouring into our country. We can't do it. This was a way of taking care of them. This was a way of spending on things that had nothing to do with COVID, as per your question. But it was really a big bailout for badly run Democrat cities and states.
All right,
By the
I
way,
want
if
to.
I get elected, I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'm going to be an American president. I don't see red states and blue states. What I see is American, United States. And folks, every single state out there finds themselves in trouble. They're going to start laying off, whether they're red or blue, cops, firefighters, first responders, teachers, because they have to balance their budget. And the founders were smart. They allowed the federal government to deficit spend to compensate for the United States of America.
I want to talk about the minimum wage, gentlemen. Mr. Vice President, we are talking a lot about struggling small businesses and business owners these days. Do you think this is the right time to ask them to raise the minimum wage? You, of course, support a $15 federal minimum wage.
I do, because I think one of the things we're going to have to do is we're going to have to bail them out too. We should be bailing them out now, those small businesses. You got 1 in 6 of them going under. They're not going to be able to make it back. They passed a package that allows us to be able to call PPP. Money is supposed to go to help them do everything from organize how they can deal with their businesses being open safely. Schools, how they can make classrooms smaller, how they can hire more teachers, how they can put ventilation systems in. They need the help. The businesses as well as the schools need the help. But these guys will not help them. Is not giving them any of the money.
We are going to move on to immigration,
one thing very
but I
quickly,
want
he
to
said
get
we
your
have to help our
reaction.
small businesses by raising the minimum wage. That's not helping. I think it should be a state option. Alabama is different than New York. New York is different from Vermont. Every state is different. It should be a state option.
You said very
we have
recently.
to help. It's very important. We have to help our small businesses.
How
are you helping your small businesses when you're forcing wages? What's going to happen, and what's been proven to happen, is when you do that, these small businesses fire many of their employees.
You said very
Not true,
recently you would
by the way.
consider raising the federal minimum
it.
wage to $15
Say
an
it.
hour. You said recently you would consider raising the federal minimum wage to
What I
$15 an hour.
really
Is
like,
that still the case?
and I would consider it to an extent, but
In a
what I
second
really like,
administration?
in a second administration, but not to a level that's going to put all these businesses out of business. It should be a state option. Look, I lived in different places. I know different places. They're all different. Some places, $15 is not so bad. In other places, other states, $15 would be
Okay, President
ruinous.
Trump, thank you. Quick response, Vice President Biden.
2 jobs, 1 job, be below poverty. People are making $6, $7, $8 an hour. These first responders, we all clap for as they come down the street because they've allowed us to make it. What's happening? They deserve a minimum wage of $15. Anything below that puts you below the poverty level. And there is no evidence that when you raise the minimum wage, businesses go out of business. That is simply not true.
We're going to talk about immigration. We're going to talk about immigration now, gentlemen, and we're going to talk about families within this context. Mr. President, your administration separated children from their parents at the border, at least 4,000 kids. You've since reversed your zero tolerance policy, but the United States can't locate the parents of more than 500 children. So how will these families ever be reunited?
Children are brought here by coyotes and lots of bad people, cartels, and they're brought here, and they used to use them to get into our country. We now have as strong a border as we've ever had. We're over 400 miles of brand new wall. You see the numbers, and we let people in, but they have to come in legally, and they come in through
But
merit.
how will you
But let
reunite
me
these
just tell
kids
you,
with their
let me
families,
just tell you,
Mr.
they
President?
built cages. You know, they used to say, I built the cages. And then they had a picture in a certain newspaper. And it was a picture of these horrible cages. And they said, look at these cages. President Trump built them. And then it was determined they were built in 2014. That was him.
Do you
They
have a
built
plan to reunite the
cages.
kids?
Yes,
with
we're
their
working on
families?
it we're trying very hard. But a lot of these kids come out without the parents. They come over through cartels and through coyotes and through gangs.
Vice President Biden, let me bring you into this
525
conversation. Quick response and then another question to you.
These 500 plus kids came with parents. They separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with. Real tough. We're really strong. And guess what? They cannot, it's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents. And it makes us a laughing stock and violates every notion of who we are as a nation.
Let me ask you a follow-up
Kristen,
question.
they did it. We changed the policy.
Your response
They
to
did
that?
it. We changed.
did not
They built the
separate
cages.
they,
Who built the cages, Joe?
let's talk about what
Who
we're
built the
talking about.
cages,
Let's
Joe?
talk about what we're talking about. What happened? Parents were ripped, their kids were ripped from their arms and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 of sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. It's criminal. It's criminal.
Let me ask
Kristen,
you
I
about
will say this.
immigration.
They went
10
down.
seconds,
We
and
brought
then I need to ask
reporters,
a question.
everything. They are so well taken care of. They're in facilities that were so clean.
But some
that
of
have
them
gotten
haven't been
such good-
reunited
But
with their
just ask
families.
one question. Who built the cages? I'd love you to ask him that. Who built the cages?
Let me ask about your immigration policy, Mr. Vice President. The Obama administration did fail to deliver immigration reform, which had been a key promise during the administration. It also presided over record deportations as well as family detentions at the border before changing course. So why should voters trust you with an immigration overhaul now?
Because we made a mistake. It took too long to get it right. It took too long to get it right. I'll be president of the United States, not vice president of the United States. And the fact is, I've made it very clear. Within 100 days, I'm going to send to the United States Congress a pathway to citizenship for over 11 million undocumented people. And all of those so-called dreamers, those DACA kids, they're going to be immediately certified again to be able to stay in this country and put on a path to citizenship. The idea that they are being sent home by this guy and they want to do that is they've gone to a country they've never seen before. I can imagine you're 5 years old, your parents are taking you across the Rio Grande River and it's illegal. And you say, oh no, Mom, leave me here. I'm not going to go with you. They've been here. Many of them are model citizens. Over 20,000 of them are first responders out there taking care of people during this crisis. We owe them. We owe them.
President
Kristen,
Trump,
he
your
had
reaction.
8 years to do what he said he was going to do. And I've
We
changed
did.
without having a specific. We got rid of catch and release. We got rid of a lot of horrible things that they put in and that they lived with. But he had 8 years he was vice president. He did nothing except build cages to keep children in.
Vice President
Wrong.
Biden, your response.
The catch and release, you know what he's talking about there? If in fact you had a family came across and they were arrested, they in fact were given a date to show up for their hearing. They were released. And guess what? They showed up for a hearing. And this is the first president in the history of the United States of America that anybody seeking asylum has to do it in another country. That's never happened before in America. That's never happened before in America. You come to the United States and you make your case that I seek asylum based on the following premise, why I deserve it under American law. They're sitting in squalor on the other side of the river.
President Trump, your response,
so
30
important.
seconds, and then we'll move
It
on.
just shows that he has no understanding of immigration or the laws. Catch and release is a disaster. A murderer would come in, a rapist would come in, a very bad person would come in. We would take their name. We have to release them into our country. And then you say they come back. Less than 1% of the people come back. We have to send ICE out and Border Patrol out to find them. We would say, come back in 2 years, 3 years. We're going to give you a court case. You need Perry Mason. We're going to give you a court case. When you say they come back, they don't come back, Joe.
They do.
They never come back. Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ, they might come back.
Okay,
But they're
President
very,
Trump, let's
very
give
few.
Vice President Biden a chance to respond, and then we're going to move on to the
You
next
don't know
section.
the law, Joe.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Know the law, what he's telling you is simply not true.
Well, check
Check
it
it
out. They
out.
don't come back.
Check it out.
All right, let's move on
But we don't have
to
to
the
worry
next
about it because they
section.
terminated it. So we don't have to worry about it
Let's
anymore.
move on to the next
And you have
section.
525 kids not knowing where in God's name they're going to be and lost their parents.
Go ahead.
All right, let's talk about our next section, which is race in America. And I want to talk about the way Black and Brown Americans experience race in this country. Part of that experience is something called the talk. It happens regardless of class and income. Parents who feel they have no choice but to prepare their children for the chance that they could be targeted, including by the police, for no reason other than the color of their skin. Mr. Vice President, in the next 2 minutes, I want you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
I do. I do. You know, my daughter is a social worker, and she's written a lot about this. She has a graduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania in social work. And you know, one of the reasons why I ended up working on the east side of Wilmington, Delaware, which is 90% African American, was to learn more about what was going on. I never had to tell my daughter, if she's pulled over, make sure she puts for a traffic stop, put both hands on top of the wheel and don't reach for the glove box because someone may shoot you. But a Black parent, no matter how wealthy or how poor they are, has to teach their child when you're walking down the street, don't have a hoodie on when you go across the street, making sure that you, in fact, if you get pulled over, just yes, sir, no, sir, hands on top of the wheel, because you are, in fact, the victim, whether you're a person making child of a $300,000 a year person or someone who's on food stamps. The fact of the matter is there is institutional racism in America. And we have always said, we've never lived up to it, that we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women are created equal. But guess what? We have never, ever lived up to it, but we've always constantly been moving the needle further and further to inclusion, not exclusion. This is the first president to come along and says, that's the end of that. We're not going to do that anymore. We have to provide for economic opportunity, better education, better health care, better access to schooling, better access to opportunity to borrow money to start businesses. All the things we can do, and I've laid out a clear plan as to how to do those things, just to give people a shot. It's about accumulating the ability to have wealth as well as it is to be free from violence.
President Trump, same question to you, and let me remind you of the question. I would like you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
Yes, I do. And again, he's been in government 47 years. He never did a thing except in 1994 when he did such harm to the Black community. And they were called, and he called them super predators. And he said that. He said it, super predators. And they have never lived that down. 1994, your crime bill, the super predators. Nobody has done more for the Black community than Donald Trump. And if you look, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln, possible exception, but the exception of Abraham Lincoln, nobody has done what I've done. Criminal justice reform, Obama and Joe didn't do it. I don't even think they tried because they had no chance at doing it. They might have wanted to do it, but if you had to see the arms I had to twist to get that done, it was not a pretty picture. And everybody knows it, including some very liberal people that cried in my office. They cried in the Oval Office. 2 weeks later, they're out saying, gee, we have to defeat him. Criminal justice reform, prison reform, opportunity zones with Tim Scott, a great senator from South Carolina. He came in with this incredible idea for opportunity zones. It's one of the most successful programs. People don't talk about it. Tremendous investment is being made. Biggest beneficiary, the Black and Hispanic communities, and then historically Black colleges and universities. After 3 years of coming to the office, I love some of those guys. They were great. They came into the office and they said, I said, what are you doing? After 3 years, I said, why do you keep coming back? Because we have no funding. I said, you don't have to come back every year. We have to come back because President Obama would never give them long-term funding. And I did 10-year long-term funding. And I gave them more money than they asked for because I said, I think you need more. And I said, the only bad part about this is I may never see you again because I got very friendly with them, and they like me and I like them. But I saved historically black colleges and universities.
Okay, and we're going to talk about both of your records, but your response to that, Vice
My
President?
response to that is I never, ever said what he accused me of saying. The fact of the matter is, in 2000, though, after the crime bill had been in the law for a while, this is the guy who said, the problem with the crime bill, there's not enough people in jail. There's not enough people in jail. And go on my website, get the quote, the date when he said it. Not enough people. He talked about marauding gangs, young gangs, and the people who are going to maraud our cities. This is a guy who in the Central Park five innocent black kids, he continued to push for making sure that they got the death penalty. None of them were guilty of the crimes they were suggested. Look, and talk about granted, he did in fact let 20 people, he commuted 20 people's sentences. We commuted over 1,000 people's sentences. Over 1,000. The very law he's talking about is a law that, in fact, initiated by Barack Obama. And secondly, we're in a situation here where the federal prison system was reduced by 38,000 people under our administration. And one of these things we should be doing, there should be no minimum mandatories in the law. That's why I'm offering $20 billion to states to change their state laws to eliminate minimum mandatories and set up drug courts. No one should be going to jail because they have a drug problem. They should be going to rehabilitation, not to jail. We should fundamentally change the system, and that's what I'm going to do.
But why didn't he do it 4 years ago? Why didn't you do that 4 years ago, even less than that? Why didn't you do it? You were vice president. You keep talking about all these things you're going to do and you're going to do this, but you were there just a short time ago and you guys did nothing.
We did.
You know, Joe, I ran because of you. I ran because of Barack Obama, because you did a poor job. If I thought you did a good job, I would have never run. I would have never run. I ran because of you. I'm looking at you now. You're a politician. I ran because of you.
All right, Vice President Biden, your response to that, and then I do have some questions for both of you.
Well, I tell you what, I hope he does look at me, because what's happening here is, you know who I am, you know who he is, you know his character, you know my character, you know our reputations for honor and telling the truth. I am anxious to have this race. I am anxious to see this take place. The character of the country is on the ballot. Our character is on the ballot. Look at us closely.
Let me ask some follow-up.
Excuse me.
Please respond, and then we're going to have follow-up
If this stuff is true about Russia, Ukraine, China, other countries, Iraq, if this is true, then he's a corrupt politician.
All right.
So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby. Joe, they're calling you a corrupt politician.
Nobody's
Take a look
President
at the
Trump, I
laptop
want to
from
stay
hell.
on the issue
Excuse
of
me,
race. We're
take a
talking
look at
about the issue.
laptop from hell.
President Trump, we're
Nobody.
talking about race right now, and I do want to stay on the issue of race. President Trump,
And I
you've
have to
just
respond to that.
please,
Because look,
very
there
quickly.
are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plan. They have said that this has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
And
You
that's
gotta be-
exactly what.
Is this
that's
where you're
exactly
going?
what.
This
was
is
told.
where he's going. The
right.
laptop is Russia,
Yes.
Russia,
Gentlemen,
Russia.
I want to stay on the issue of race.
You
okay?
have to be kidding. Here we
Mr.
go
President,
again with Russia.
We're going to continue
Boy,
on the
boy.
issue of race. Mr. President,
believe
you've
that one.
described the Black Lives Matter movement as a symbol of hate. You've shared a video of a man chanting white power to millions of your supporters. You've said that Black professional athletes exercising their First Amendment rights should be fired. What do you say to Americans who say that kind of language from a president is contributing to a climate of hate and racial strife?
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. I said, that's a horrible thing. And they were marching down the street. And that was my first glimpse of Black Lives Matter. I thought it was a terrible thing. As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room.
Well, what do you say to Americans who are concerned by that rhetoric?
I
and
don't
by
know. I mean, I
the
don't know what
videos?
to say. I got criminal justice reform done and prison reform and opportunity zones. I took care of Black colleges and universities. I don't know what to say. They can say anything. I mean, they can say anything. it makes me sad because I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark, but I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room.
Okay, Vice President Biden, let me
Abraham.
ask you very quickly, and then I have a follow-up question for you.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. He pours fuel on every single racist fire, every single one. Started off his campaign coming down the escalator saying he's going to get rid of those Mexican rapists. He's banned Muslims because they're Muslims. He has moved around and made everything worse across the board. He says about the poor boys, last time we were on stage here, he said, I told them to stand down and stand ready. Come on. This guy is a dog whistle about as big as a foghorn.
President Trump, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I have a follow-up.
You made a reference to Abraham Lincoln. Where did that come in? I mean,
You said
where
you're
did that-
Abraham Lincoln.
No, where did that? No.
You said-
I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community.
And I'm
I
saying,
didn't say I'm Abraham Lincoln. I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community. Now, you have done nothing other than the crime bill, which put
oh God.
tens of thousands of black men mostly in jail.
All right, let me,
And you know what?
let me
They
ask
remember
Vice
it
President
because if you
Biden
look
a
at what's
question.
happening with the voting right now,
Let me ask
they
Vice
remember
President
that you
Biden
treated them
about-
very, very badly.
The-
Just
the-
take a look at what's happening out there.
Vice President Biden, let me give you a chance to respond within this context. Crime
Okay.
bills that you supported in the 80s and 90s contributed to the incarceration of tens of thousands of young black men who had small amounts of drugs in their possession. They are sons, they are brothers, they're fathers, they're uncles, whose families are still to this day, some of them suffering the consequences. So speak to those families. Why should they vote for you?
One of the things is that in the 80s, we passed 100%, all 100 senators voted for it, a bill on drugs and how to deal with drugs. It was a mistake. I've been trying to change the since then, particularly the portion on cocaine. That's why I've been arguing that, in fact, we should not send anyone to jail for a pure drug offense. They should be going into treatment across the board. That's what we should be spending money on. That's why I set up drug courts, which were never funded by our Republican friends. They should not be going to jail for a drug or an alcohol problem. They should be going into treatment. That's what we've been trying to do. That's what I'm going to get done because I think maybe the American people have now seen that, in fact, it was a mistake to pass those laws relating to drug, but they were not in the crime bill.
But
Okay,
why
so-
didn't he get it done? See, it's all talk, no action with these politicians. Why didn't he get it done? That's what I'm going to do when I become president. You were vice president along with Obama as your president, your leader, for 8 years. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years to get it done. Now you're saying you're going to get it done because you're all talk and no action, Jim.
We got a
Your
lot of it
response.
done. We released
You didn't get
38,000. We
anything
got
done.
38,000 prisoners left from the.
You got
out-
nothing done.
38,000 prisoners were released from federal prison. There were over 1,000 people who were given clemency. In fact, we're the ones that put in the legislation saying we could look at pattern and practice of police departments and what they were doing, how they were conducting themselves. I could go on, but we began the process. We lost an election. That's why I'm running to win back that election and change his terrible policy.
I
Quick
just
response,
asked,
and then we're
I
going to
just
move
asked
on
one
to climate
question.
change.
Why didn't you do it in the 8 years, a short time ago? Why didn't you do it? You just said, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. You put tens
Because-
of thousands of mostly black young men in prison. Now you're saying you're going to undo that. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years with Obama. You know why,
Because-
Joe? Because you're all talk and no action.
Our Vice President
Because
Biden,
we
and
had-
then we're going to move on to the next section.
We had a Republican Congress. That's the answer.
Well,
Okay.
you got to talk them into it, Joe.
All
Sometimes
right.
you got to talk them into it.
We're going to move on to our next section,
Like I
which
did
is
with criminal
climate
justice
change.
reform. I had
Okay.
to talk Democrats into it.
Gentlemen,
You
we're,
did
we're-
what we
we're running out
already
of
done.
time, so we got to get on to
Okay.
climate change, please. You both have very different visions on climate change. President Trump, you say that environmental regulations have hurt jobs in the energy sector. Vice President Biden, you have said you see addressing climate change as an opportunity to create new jobs. For each of you, how would you both combat climate change and support job growth at the same time? Starting with you, President Trump, you have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
So we have the Trillion Trees program. We have so many different programs. I do love the environment, but what I want is the cleanest, crystal clear water, the cleanest air. We have the best, lowest number in carbon emissions, which is a big standard that I notice Obama goes with all the time. Not Joe. I haven't heard Joe use the term because I'm not sure he knows what it represents or means, but I have heard Obama use it. And we have the best carbon emission numbers that we've had in 35 years under this administration. We are working so well with industry, but here's what we can't do. Look at China, how filthy it is. Look at Russia. Look at India. It's filthy. The air is filthy. The Paris Accord, I took us out because we were going to have to spend trillions of dollars, and we were treated very unfairly. When they put us in there, they did us a great disservice. They were going to take away our businesses. I will not sacrifice tens of millions of jobs, thousands and thousands of companies because of the Paris Accord. It was so unfair. China doesn't kick in until 2030. Russia goes back to a low standard, and we kicked in right away. It would have destroyed our businesses. So, you ready? We have done an incredible job environmentally. We have the cleanest air, the cleanest water, and the best carbon emission standards that we've seen in many, many years.
Vice President
And we
Biden.
haven't destroyed our industries.
Vice President Biden, 2 minutes to you, uninterrupted.
Climate change, climate warming, global warming is an existential threat to humanity. We have a moral obligation to deal with it. And we're told by all the leading scientists in the world, we don't have much time. We're going to pass the point of no return within the next 8 to 10 years. 4 more years of this man eliminating all the regulations that were put in by us to clean up the climate, to limit limited emissions will put us in a position where we're going to be in real trouble. Here's where we have a great opportunity. I was able to get both all the environmental organizations as well as labor, the people worried about jobs, to support my climate plan. Because what it does, it will create millions of new good paying jobs. We're going to invest in, for example, 50,000 charging stations on our highways so that we can own the electric car market of the future. In the meantime, China is doing that. We're going to be in a position where we're going to see to it that we're going to take 4 million existing buildings and 2 million existing homes and retrofit them so they don't leak as much energy, saving hundreds of millions of barrels of oil in the process and creating significant number of jobs. And by the way, the whole idea of what this is all going to do, it's going to create millions of jobs, and it's going to clean the environment. Our health and our jobs are at stake. That's what's happening. And what right now, by the way, Wall Street firms indicated that my plan will in fact create 18.6 million jobs, 7 million more than his. This is from Wall Street. And I'll create $1 trillion more in economic growth than his proposal does. Not on climate, just on the economy.
President Trump, you're
Today came out and said very strongly, $6,500 will be taken away from families under his plan, that his plan is an economic disaster. If you look at what he wants to do, if you look at his plan, his environmental plan, you know who developed it? AOC +3. They know nothing about the climate. I mean, she's got a good line of stuff, but she knows nothing about the climate. And they're all hopping through hoops for AOC +3. Look, their real plan costs $100 trillion. If we had the best year in the history of our country for 100 years, we would not even come close to a number like that. When he says buildings, they want to take buildings down because they want to make bigger windows into smaller windows. As far as they're concerned, if you had no window, it would be a lovely thing. This is the craziest plan that anybody has ever seen. And this wasn't done by smart people. This wasn't done by anybody. Frankly, I don't even know how it can be good politically. Right. They want to spend $100 trillion. That's their real number. He's trying to say it was 6. It's $100 trillion. They want to knock down buildings and build new buildings with little, tiny, small windows. I mean, and many other things.
Okay.
And many other things.
Let me have the Vice President respond, and we're running out of time, and we have a lot more questions to get to. So let's hear from the Vice President. I have a number more questions.
I don't know where he comes from. I don't know where he comes up with these numbers.
Queens.
$100 trillion. Give me a break. This plan was, this is plans endorsed by every major environmental group and every labor group, because they know the future lies. The future lies in us being able to breathe, and they know there are good jobs in getting us there. And by the way, the fastest growing industry in America is the solar energy and wind. He thinks wind causes cancer, windmills. It's the fastest growing jobs, and they pay good prevailing wages, 45, 50 bucks an hour. We can grow and we can be cleaner if we go the route I'm proposing.
President Trump,
Excuse me.
please
We are
respond, and then I have some
We are
follow-ups.
energy independent for the first time. We don't need all of these countries that we had to fight war over because we needed their energy. We are energy independent. I know more about wind than you do. It's extremely expensive, kills all the birds. It's very intermittent. It's got a lot of problems, and they happen to make the windmills in both Germany and China. And the fumes coming up, if you're a believer in carbon emission, the fumes coming up to make these massive windmills is more than anything that we're talking about with natural gas, which is very clean. One other thing.
Find me a
Solar.
scientist said that.
I love solar, but solar doesn't quite have it yet. It's not powerful yet to really run our big, beautiful factories that we need to compete with the world. So
False.
it's all a pipe dream. But you know what we'll do? We're going to have the greatest economy in the world. But if you want to kill the economy, get rid of your oil industry. You want, and what about fracking?
All right,
Now-
let me
now we
let
have
me
to
have
ask
let
him
me
about
allow
fracking.
Vice President Biden to
I
respond.
never said I oppose fracking.
You said it on tape.
I did show the tape. Put it on your website.
I'll put it on.
Put it on the website. The fact of the matter is
Showed
he's
it last
flat lying.
Would you rule out banning fracking?
I do rule out banning fracking because the answer, we need other industries to transition to get to ultimately a complete zero emissions by 2025. What I will do with fracking over time is make sure that we can capture the emissions from the fracking, capture the emissions from gas. We can do that, and we can do that by investing money and doing it, but it's a transition to that.
I have one more question in this pod, and then
Excuse me,
we
he
have.
was against fracking. He said it. I will show that to you tomorrow. I
Good.
am against fracking. Until he got the nomination, went to Pennsylvania, then he said, but you know what, Pennsylvania? He'll be against it very soon because his party is totally against it.
Fracking on federal land, I said. No fracking
You said
and or
fracking.
oil
You
on
didn't say
federal
Let
land.
me ask this
I
final
did.
question in this section, and then I want to move on to our final section. President Trump, people of color are much more likely to live near oil refineries and chemical plants. In Texas, there are families who worry the plants near them are making them sick. Your administration has rolled back regulations on these kinds of facilities. Why should these families give you another 4 years in office?
The families that we're talking about are employed heavily, and they're making a lot of money, more money than they've ever made. If you look at the kind of numbers that we produce for Hispanic, for Black, for Asian, it's 9 times greater, the percentage gain, than it was in 3 years, than it was under 8 years of the 2 of them, to put it nicely. 9 times more. Now, somebody lives, I have not heard the numbers or the statistics that you're saying, but they're making a tremendous amount of money economically. We saved it. And I saved it again a number of months ago when oil was crashing because of the pandemic.
Okay.
We saved it. We got, say what you want about relationship, we got Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Russia to cut back, way back. We saved our oil industry, and now it's very vibrant again.
All
And
right.
everybody has very inexpensive gasoline. Remember
Vice
that.
President Biden, your response, and then we're going to have a final question for both of you.
My response is that those people live on what they call fence lines. He doesn't understand this. They live near chemical plants that in fact pollute, chemical plants and oil plants and refineries that pollute. I used to live near that when I was growing up in Claymont, Delaware. And all the more oil refineries in Marcus Hook and the Delaware River than there is any place, including in Houston at the time. When my mom get in the car and when there was first frost to drive me to school, turn in the windshield wiper, there'd be oil slick in the window. That's why so many people in my state were dying and getting cancer. The fact is those frontline communities, it doesn't matter what you're paying them. It matters how you keep them safe. What do? And you impose restrictions on the pollutions the pollutants coming out of those fence line communities.
Okay, I have one final
Would he
question.
close
It
down
falls-
the oil industry?
It falls.
Would you close
it
down the
falls-
oil
By the way, I would
industry?
transition from the oil industry, yes. I
Oh,
will
that's a big
transition.
statement.
It is a big statement
That's a big
because
statement.
I would stop
Why would you do that?
because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
I see.
Here's the deal, but you
That's a
can't
big
do that.
statement.
Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over time, And I'd stop giving to the oil industry, I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. He won't give federal subsidies to the gas, excuse me, to solar and wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to oil industry?
We actually do
All
give
right.
it to solar and wind.
We
And
have
that's
one
maybe the
final
biggest
question.
statement in terms of business. That's the biggest statement.
Okay.
Because
We have
basically
one
what he's
final
saying
question,
is he is
Mr.
going to
President.
destroy the oil industry. Will you remember that, Texas? Will you
Okay.
remember that, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma?
Vice President Biden, let me give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I
Ohio.
have to get to the final question. Vice President Biden.
He takes everything out of context, but the point is, look, we have to move toward a net zero emissions. The first place to do that by the year 2035 is in energy production, by 2050 totally.
All right. One
Is he gonna
final
get
question
China
to
to
both
do
of
it?
you. No, we're finished with
Is
this.
he
We have
going to
to
get
move on
China
to
to
our
do it?
final question. We
No,
have to
I'm
move
going
on
to
to our final
rejoin Paris
question.
Accord and make
Oh.
China abide by what they agreed to.
All right,
That'll
this
cost you
is
$1
about
trillion.
leadership, gentlemen. And this first question does go to you, President Trump. Imagine this is your inauguration day. What will you say in your address to Americans who did not vote for you? You'll each have 1 minute, starting with you, Mr.
We have to make our country totally successful as it was prior to the plague coming in from China. Now we're rebuilding it and we're doing record numbers, 11.4 million jobs in a short period of time, et cetera. But I will tell you, go back. Before the plague came in, just before, I was getting calls from people that were not normally people that would call me. They wanted to get together. We had the best Black unemployment numbers in the history of our country. Hispanic, women, Asian, people with diplomas, with no diplomas, MIT graduates, #1 in the class. Everybody had the best numbers. And you know what? The other side wanted to get together. They wanted to unify. Success is going to bring us together. We are on the road to success, but I'm cutting taxes and he wants to raise everybody's taxes and he wants to put new regulations on everything. He will kill it. If he gets in, you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen. Your 401ks will go to hell and it'll be a very, very sad day for this country.
All right. Vice President Biden, same question to you. What will you say during your inaugural address to Americans who did not vote for you?
I will say, I'm an American president. I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me. And I'm going to make sure that you're represented. I'm going to give you hope. We're going to move. We're going to choose science over fiction. We're going to choose hope over fear. We're going to choose to move forward because we have enormous opportunities to make things better. We can grow this economy. We can deal with the systemic racism. And at the same time, we can make sure that our economy is being run and moved and motivated by clean energy, creating millions of new jobs. And that's the fact. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to say, as I said at the beginning, what is on the ballot here is the character of this country: decency, honor, respect, treating people with dignity, making sure that everyone has an even chance. And I'm going to make sure you get that. You haven't been getting it the last 4 years.
All right. I want to thank you both for a very robust hour and a half, a fantastic debate. Really appreciate it. President Trump, former Vice President Joe Biden, thank you to Belmont University for hosting us tonight. And most importantly, thank you to those watching tonight. Election Day is November 3rd. Don't
Thanks to
forget
Rhoda
to
Tate.
vote. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
Thank you.
And the First Lady comes to the floor. Trump ain't gonna put no damn mask on. Bet your ass that. Like, peace out, motherfucker. Piece of shit. What's y'all thoughts, man? What's going on, man? What's y'all thoughts on that joint, man? Who won that debate, man? The big boss in the building. Big boss, man. You want to pull up, big boss? Big boss want to pull up, talk about his boy. Anybody want to pull up? Who y'all think won that joint, man? I agree 100% with you. Terrible, man. Terrible with a capital T, man. Anybody want to pull up and talk about it? You know what I mean? Click that link. Click that link. Come holler at your boy. Yeah, Trump threw a lot of people under the bus. He threw the IRS under the bus tonight. Man, he threw a lot of people up under the bus. You know what I mean? But they both was telling on each other a lot. Like, you know, they was talking like they both were stealing money and shit from Russia and China and shit. But I guarantee you, man, Trump got all kind of deals overseas set up when he leaves that White House. All kind of money from all these different people, man. What up, K Dot? What's going on with you, brother? I know you're a man.
Nothing, man. Nothing, man. You know what I'm saying? Out here trying to get to it. I mean, I'ma just say it, man. Like, ha, that Trump kind of like a convincing motherfucker, man. I'ma just be real.
Oh, so you felt like you really, 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 really won that shit, huh?
No, I mean, like, as far as okay, dealing with Biden, right? Throughout his history and how long he been in politics, I
Right.
know this motherfucker hate me. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
You feel me?
yeah.
But let's be real. At the end of the day, when it comes to Trump, he a businessman. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And being in this politics, you know, he done had to play the game. You know, but at the end of the day, I didn't seen him do business, and we've seen him do business when it comes down to black people or whoever else. When it comes to that paper, so the question I gotta ask myself is, okay, he know he can't lean to one side because if he leaned to that one side, he gonna alienate a certain group of people. You know what I'm saying? In regards to his people.
Right.
So I gotta put on an image and act a certain way to get a little bit longer in the long get further ahead in the long run. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
That's the only thing we can say with Biden is, oh, he was with Obama and this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, it's like, nigga, you had to ride his coattails to even see the office. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right.
You had to ride that man coattails. And honestly, and in picking, you know, Obama ain't had much to pick from. So it's like I gotta choose the whitest vanilla dude there is, and he happened to be it.
Yeah, he like a known person.
And at the end of the day, it was just because it was Obama, we ain't never questioned the motherfucker. We ain't never said, you know what, Obama, you straight, but we got to check this dude out and see his past and go through the sniff test. You know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man. Man, like I say, man, at the end of the day, you know, I feel like Biden, he ain't really connected to the younger people, you know what I'm saying?
I mean,
He's more of a old school motherfucker, you know what I mean? You don't know what you're gonna get.
right, but I mean, you thinking he gonna go that route or what Hillary did, and you put some hot sauce in your motherfucking purse and go to the Breakfast Club and it's all good. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, bro, that ain't enough, bro. Like at the end of the day, bro, you gotta let us know like what you got for us and what you going like in concrete. Like, hey, black people, this for y'all. This what I'm gonna do for y'all.
Right.
Hey, good evening, fellas.
What
Hey,
up?
look, I think we gotta look at this from a different perspective. All right. So Biden has a shady history. That's obvious. He's been in politics for years. He has a shady history. Let's look at Trump. Let's look at what he's done the past 4 years. What has he done to better black community, whatever community, the country in general? What has he done?
How has he made America great again?
Exactly. I mean, everything is pretty much gone to shit since he's been in office. And at the same time, he's trying to throw people in jail, his opponents in jail. He realized that he's going to lose, so he's trying to throw his opponents in jail. He's trying to do all kinds of backdoor deals, so just in case he loses, and just so he can avoid lawsuits or going to jail himself. I wouldn't be surprised if he already got himself an exit plan to leave the country. He did say that at one of his rallies. He's constantly telling himself in his rallies what he's going to do.
What did he say?
Oh, he said maybe I should leave the country if he loses. I mean, and then, I mean, no disrespect to folks that I get behind this man, that really believe in this man, that he's going to make their lives better. But I mean, come on, this dude's a fucking clown. This dude's a fucking clown.
Facts.
Definitely, most definitely. I mean, but you can kind of posit the same like thing against Biden, because my thing is, okay, you were a part of that Obama administration and you was his VP. And what can we say that he did for black people now? You made sure everybody else was straight. You know what I'm saying?
But I think we're missing something. Yeah. You know what? Black folks do not get a lot of attention when it comes to politics. We don't. But I'll tell you this: if there are policies such as Medicare for all, for example, or such as just the Obamacare, yeah, that shit's fucking expensive. But at least he mandated to allow pre-existing conditions and things of that nature, so that more folks can actually get health insurance.
Honestly,
that benefits black folks.
I mean, honestly, okay, as far as when we look at as far as the whole Obamacare and health insurance, you know what? On paper, what it was supposed to be, yeah, it was a utopian idea of, you know what, affordable coverage for everybody. But honestly, by the time it made it through the House and the Senate, they mucked it up and they did what they did to it. And honestly, we could attribute that to the Republicans. Like that's just honest,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly.
So yeah, at the end of the day, you know, I can't blame the Democrats for that. But you know, at the same time, it's like, you know, because I don't know, man. I look at Trump as a rogue agent. Like he ain't really left, he ain't really right. It's like, bro, I'm running this shit. I'm calling the Blue 42, and I need y'all niggas to run straight routes, and I'm gonna just chuck this bitch.
Let's be honest, this motherfucker's all about money. He's all about enriching himself. He doesn't give a fuck about you, for your family, your neighbors. He don't give a fuck. He's all about enriching himself. This dude is using the office to enrich his companies. He built I live here right outside of DC. He built a goddamn hotel in DC right there on Pennsylvania Avenue. And what he does is he ensures that the diplomats, the foreign diplomats, all those guys stays in this motherfucking hotel, not the Hyatt down the street, not the Sheraton down the street, his motherfucking hotel, so he can pocket his money. This motherfucker is so corrupt that when the Air Force does its normal runs out there to Northern Europe, in the Scottish Isles, British Isles, he makes sure that they do a detour to stop at his hotel, at his golf course, his hotel, so they can stay the night there as they go on their routes, even though it's out of motherfucking way. And this motherfucker's so corrupt that in the government, right? you can. They have per diem where you like. They have every area has their per diem rate. So say like up in Scotland to stay in a hotel will cost $150 a night. Well, you can go up to 300% over that. So you can go up to $450 a night. Well, he makes sure that the hotel, the nightly rate is $450 a night, just so he can ensure that government employees can pay for that.
Somebody turn the replay off. It's Welcome to the show, y'all. Welcome to the show, man. You know, when he first got in office, hell, he didn't even want to live in the White House. He wanted to live in his hotel. You remember that?
Yeah. And then he got all the Secret Service spending all that taxpayer money because he spends every fucking weekend at his White House and the summer White House in Florida.
Right. I think it was, man, don't quote me, but I think it was $1 million a day he was spending on that shit. What's going on, K-Mac? I know you're a Republican, man. You know what I mean? What's happening?
No, sir. Thank you for bringing me into the chat, Rich. And shout out to everyone in the panel. No, sir. I'm no way a Trump supporter.
Oh, man, I had you wrong. My fault, man.
No, sir. This pimp is not working for me. So I'd rather take my chances with a new pimp. If I'm going to get screwed, it ain't going to be by the same one that screwed me over for the last 4 years.
You ain't going to be the bottom bitch, huh?
No, sir.
Oh, shit, they fucked us for the last 8. Proud of that.
We're not working on the last 8. We're working on what's right now. And that's what counts.
Right.
Oh, yeah, man. He going to come through with that agenda. Let's fill these prisons up. Let's get this slave trade going again. Let's crank that shit up. Put these niggas in jail.
Not like that, brother. You got it twisted.
Exactly. You don't see what's at the border.
What it was?
You got it twisted.
What y'all think about
Vice President does not call any shots.
I know the Vice President calls no shots, but at the end of the day, them boys had an agenda, and that agenda got filled, right?
Well, I tell you what.
When we look at
what happened in the past, we have to deal with what we have in front of us right now. And evidently, number 45 is not working for this country, or nor is it working for black people.
He's not.
He's not working for black people. I ain't gonna say he ain't working for the country because some people love him. But what y'all think about this right here, man? Because it's almost like Democrats expect us to just vote for them. Like,
and that's the thing.
Work for it. They don't gotta work for it.
They know it's gonna come regardless.
Look, we need to do a better job and being heard by the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. We don't do a good job at that.
No, sir. The Democrats know they owe us a promise. And this time, we got out and let it know what we want in return for our support.
Man, it's the same song.
I believe if the Democrats get back in office, this is going to work out pretty good for the country as well as for black people.
Right.
That's my belief. I know it's not going to work under 45.
All right. What y'all think about this?
But I'm saying, come back, how?
Hold on real quick. Hold on. Let me get this out. I got a message. Trump knows more than Biden when it comes to the economy.
Fuck out of here.
You got to understand one thing. Trump.
My reply was. I guess he do, but ain't he in debt like $400 billion?
Exactly.
Yeah, that motherfucker been bankrolled like 10 times, man.
Trump is the cause of this economy being where it's at today, if you remember.
Go ahead, K-Dot.
No, I'm saying at the end of the day, okay, that man went into debt, right? But at the end of the day, he pulled himself up out of it. So we got to at least give him back. See what I'm saying? As far as these politicians, they career politicians, their whole thing is to stay in office and influence shit. And at the end of the day, once they get out, make sure that they pocket straight and their family members' pockets straight. And that's why I respect Trump for at least calling them out on that shit. Like, bro, like all you doing is you a career politician. That's how you making your million.
Doing the same thing.
No, but my thing is, yeah, but you got to look at it from the perspective of him, right? Being outside the office, whereas I had to pay y'all to influence y'all. The fact that I'm in here now, I could kind of shake up some shit, and y'all don't like that. They don't like it on both sides.
To work in his favor.
If you get in office, would you not do the same thing?
No. It's a motherfucking democracy. It's a democracy. At least I'll follow the Constitution and ensure that and not allow for legalized bribery. I mean, that's just been going on for decades. I mean, that didn't start with Trump. But if he was really real about his shit, that's what he get at, and he will stop that legalized bribery that we have going on in our government right now.
Man, you gotta understand, as long as there's politics, it's always gonna be lobbyists. So meaning there's always gonna be motherfuckers, because motherfuckers come into office with the greatest intentions of, hey man, I'm gonna do good, and tell that motherfucker come to you and say, look here, man, this briefcase, and we a part of this coalition, and you know what, we want you to vote on this for that. And then you can put this into your political fund.
Yeah, but the difference with Trump is he's breaking law. He's breaking laws.
Meaning, can't nobody want him if he has a briefcase.
Donald Trump think he is above the law. No man is above the law.
Yeah, then you got a president there that's got all these sexual harassment cases. All that, man, it's just not a good look, man. He's not denouncing these racist groups, man. I mean, that dude is a mess, man. Shout out James Jones. Why is Trump not running on this major piece of legislation, the 2017 tax plan? Why he not?
Because that shit was a failure.
Shout out to James Jones, man. I mean, I agree, man. Like, okay, it's been 4 years, right? Have you really made America great again? Like, you ain't brought nobody together, man. Like, you divided the country, man, straight up.
Exactly. And every time a black man gets shot or a black woman gets shot, who does he side with? The police, 100% of the time. And them motherfuckers love him.
Right.
Yeah.
I think he did say something about the George Floyd shit, though. He might have made one little comment, but it was some weak ass shit.
Here in Illinois, we just had another shooting and killing in Waukegan. 2 white cops shot 2 young black kids in a car. One of them died. The female is in the hospital now on recovery.
Yeah, that one's really crazy.
All right, shout out James Jones again. He says, not good with economics. Obama gifted him with a great economy and convinced y'all he built it. I mean, I don't really think Obama, I don't think it was a great economy with either one of them.
Well, he brought the economy out of a recession.
Well, let me ask you this. Don't the economy every 10 years goes down and comes back up, just like the stock market? Naturally, I mean,
not that far down.
I mean, you got to remember, you got to remember during that time, because we had just came out of the Bush administration, and when Obama had gotten it, we had the .com bubble and then the housing market bubble. So once those burst, we were kind of in a recession. So by the time by the time Obama came out, things got good, and that's what Trump inherited. So that's what he's kind of saying. So in that regard, he is right. So Trump inherited. That's why when the numbers look so good as far as the employment, that wasn't due to him. That was due to the Obama administration. So
yes,
whoever made that statement, they are right.
Yes, sir.
And I think we got to remember too. Whenever Trump talks about unemployment, how he's always had a good unemployment rate during his presidency. We're never talking about the wage gap that we have in this country. We have a huge crisis in the wage gap, where the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. yet it doesn't reflect in the unemployment. If I work at McDonald's part-time, I'm employed, but I'm underemployed. I can't afford. I can't take care of a family with that kind of money.
Well, he said $15 is okay in some kind of. You gotta be in goddamn Claxton, Georgia for that to work. Billy Gino, man, you there with us?
But see, that's the thing. Like, like, okay, right there, Trump made a good statement, right? He's like, because Biden was on some $15 nationwide. Like, for a person in New York or Cali, that shit ain't gonna work. Like, $15, like, shit. Like, right now, I know motherfuckers who work at McDonald's, probably in New York, and they make like $20 an hour, and they barely scraping by.
Hey, $15 minimum wage is better than $7, man.
Well, you got to think,
as you said,
like in the
like
South.
one style don't fit all though.
Go ahead, Gino.
Yeah, you got places in the South though. Mississippi, Alabama. I'm from Florida. I already know that the minimum wage is not too high over there. So I know it's probably worse in like Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee. I don't know. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I totally hope I'm wrong.
How much is it in Florida?
Florida, what is it? 10 or 12? Is it 10?
No, last time I checked, it was like 8 something. I'm from Florida. It was like 8 something last time I checked.
Okay, yeah, it's probably still 8. That's a long time. See, I'm just hoping that it might have been like, that. I'm not even out there right now. But yeah, so you know what happened? What's really frustrating? Some of y'all probably already know my vibe on this whole political shit. Is that a lot of the times the people that are talking about their position on a certain shit and how they see Trump and how they see the left or right, these political parties, these people are not very informed. That's a lot of black people, when you really listen to them and you realize that they're not informed of the things they're talking about. They're not informed of the nuts and bolts of these things they're talking about. And they will tell you that they support Trump, or Trump is this, Trump is that. And it's like, bro, he's had 5 bankruptcies. 5 bankruptcies. And like, it's really frustrating when you listen to these people talking about, oh, Trump is a businessman, just down the third. He is not a businessman, not even close to like Bill Gates. Like, he's not
a scam artist.
Exactly. The thing is, the dude, all he does is, it's pretty much like, bro, these dudes, they grew up around money, lawyers, they know all the fast lane, but they're not doing anything. But Trump, he never used all that power, all that free money that his daddy left him. He never used it to really, with all the connections that he had, all he did is scam. And that's how you can tell people are not informed, because all of the things that are coming out on this guy, New York City alone is going to make this guy life hell. So I wish people would be more informed about the policies and the facts and things they're talking about.
That's a good point, man. A lot of them rich people, they living off credit, man. They living off debt. That's why he owe 400 or something billion or million, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? They living off credit, bro. And then when they fuck that credit up, they get some more credit. You know what I'm saying? And that's how they do it. Go ahead,
you have to remember, anytime a president says something negative about the military, about the soldiers out there putting their life on the line, he didn't do 1 day of soldier. I am a veteran myself. What kind of respect do I hold for a person like that?
Facts, brother.
Yeah, man.
He called you a sucker. He called me a sucker.
Yeah.
During the military.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a veteran too. I know that. I mean, anybody, whoever. That's why the other day I was on the live. I was asking people like, "Are you a veteran? Are you this and that?" The reason it's not about being a veteran, and whatnot. But if anybody has ever gone, let's say you've gone through a school, you've gone through a program, apprenticeship. Like I know Rich is a mechanic, so let's say he went to mechanic school. He couldn't go to the school, show up, and they're telling him this is the process of how you take this tire off. And you're like, fuck it, I'm just do whatever the fuck I want. Like it wouldn't work out. None of us can go within a system and operate the way this guy operate and be successful.
Right.
Or even given many chances.
Something should show you something is wrong with this guy. Look how many times he have changed cabinet members. Look at his generals are turned against him. Some of his own Republican Party members are turned against him. And you mean to tell me I'm going to follow someone like that? Come on, fellas.
Bro, I said about 2 years ago, because I remember this election, 2016 election, when it was about to happen, and I had a homeboy, man, and I was telling him like, because I never thought, I'll be honest with you, bro, like I never thought Trump was gonna get elected, man. I was just looking at it. I never thought Trump was gonna get elected because I just thought that there are enough serious people with serious mindset. That's like going to fucking Richie Rich, and I hear some noise in my engine, right? I hear something in my under the hood somewhere, and I go to Richie Rich, and I'm like, Richie Rich, just where some noise coming out, and I have an idea. I'm sure where this noise coming out. We all can hear it. But Richie Rich look at me. He like, oh man, it's the tires. It's the tires. That's what fucking Donald Trump does all the time.
Yeah.
Fellas, I'm going to have to leave. You all have a good night.
All right, brother. You take it easy, man.
Good night, bro.
I think more people are fascinated with his personality and the shoulders he had rubbed in the past, different people. And I mean, he always been looked at as a successful guy, but he's always went bankrupt after so long. Like I say, most rich people live off debt. They live off credit. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and you know what's so funny and sad about what you said about most rich people live off debt and credit. I mean, you're right. You're 1,000% right. But guess what? This supposedly rich guy could not even get funded in the United States.
Yeah, because all that China talk and all that, he probably getting a lot of finances from over there.
And Russia.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Man, like you say, man, if we knew how to do the stuff they was doing, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yo, he's getting a lot of money from Russia, and that's how come out there in Helsinki for that conference, he's on the stage with Vladimir Putin bad mouthing the U.S. government, bad mouthing the CIA, all the intelligence agencies, bad mouthing, agreeing with Putin on stage. Putin had him shook.
This guy has done so many foul shit, bro. This guy has done so many shit. If Barack did like a quarter of what this guy has done, bro, I swear to God, they would have hung Barack.
But okay, so right there, I gotta kind of interject, right? Because we know for a fact, as I said, with Biden and as far as Hillary and as far as the agenda and the mass incarceration of black folks, right? And this I can speak on because I worked as a correctional officer in Florida for 4 years, bro. And until you in those gates and you see like a majority of people that look like you, like I know for a fact, I've seen the results of what they do. You see what I'm saying? So meaning if Biden gets in the office, how long we gonna give him to rectify what they've done in the past? And what does that exactly look like?
Yeah, let me ask you just real quick, bro. You say how long he's going to rectify, meaning that all we have to do is what the crime bill got enacted when like 95, right? So all he has to do is bring us back to 92 and we'll be straight, right?
Man, they make
Come
money off
on
guys
now.
going to prison, man. They gonna stop that
But
shit.
you said like, but Belladino, you said like it's that simple. Let me show you how dudes get
No.
fucked
I'm
up. Hear
asking
me out.
you. I'm
Hear me
asking
out.
you.
Hear me out.
You act like
Hear
as
me
if
out.
like the system,
And I'm
the whole
saying this for
system is
fact. I
built
ain't
in
saying this for
94.
fiction. I'm saying this for fact. It's a fucked up situation, right? Whereas dudes come out, and mind you, you already got society held against you in the regard that, okay, you serve time, you can't work here, so meaning limits already placed on you, right?
Let me
And we
break
ain't
this
gonna even
down
talk
to you
about.
better. I understand everything. I'm from Florida, bro. I've lived in Fort Lauderdale. I live in Jacksonville. And if bro, you know about JV, like I know exactly what you're saying, bro. But listen though, when we have this simplistic approach, when you said, oh, what Biden gonna do to like, and I understand what you're saying. I don't think you're trying to say, oh, Biden, all he gotta do is, take us back to fix what they have done since what, 94,
Yeah, for
95.
me, what I'm saying is how much money they gonna allocate towards all them dudes that might have got knocked and sent upstate for, you know what, nigga had a little piece of weed on him, not even much, just a little piece.
All right.
You done fucked
See,
up his whole life. How much money
you
you gonna
saying
get
some
back to
fire
him
shit
to
right
get
now,
on?
bro.
What I'm saying,
You
to get
saying
on his
some
feet,
fire shit right now, but you're
huh?
not putting it in the right context. Everything you're saying is just spot on, bro. And I cannot, no black man should disagree with you at all on this topic. But when we have this simplistic approach to a certain complex problem, it, might say it's not that complex, it's not that complicated, because obviously, hey, we live in a racist system. That's always going to happen, and obviously, that will be the genesis of it all. You have to look at the foundation of this system. It is this whole judicial system, how it's set up. If you're just looking at the top, you're just looking at this thing, bro. You got a problem at the bottom, at the foundation. That's not gonna fix it. You talking about, oh, these little dudes with weed, this, down the third, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it. You're more speaking like this whole system, how it's set up is like really fucked up, bro. So there's a lot of things that we have to look. You have to look at, if you really want to talk about this, you have to look at this whole capitalistic system. They make money off of you being in jail. They make money off of you getting a traffic ticket. They make money off of your tail light being broken. They make money off of you parking somewhere where you they don't want you to park at. Bro, the system
Okay,
is
now,
built on
Bellagino,
generating revenue.
Bellagino, you ain't telling me nothing more than when the sun goes down, it gets dark. I know that. What I'm saying is, but hear me out. Because as I said, you said the other night, you was asking people as far as were they in the military, have they served? Because why? You went through that, right? You know that, right? What I'm saying is, for 4 years working as a correctional officer and a case manager at both a male and female prison, when I say I can count the numbers, bro, and when I'm telling you over 50% are black and brown folks that's behind there. And I'm telling you, I'm looking at case by case, whereas a white person might have committed one thing and a black person committed the same thing, same crime, same state, possibly went before the same judges. And look
Bro,
here,
I can
why?
say the same thing you just
You
said
see what I'm
right
saying?
now. All
Hear
of
me
these
out.
basic facts we
Listen,
know about
but
statistics,
what I'm
bro.
saying is, meaning, okay, we know Biden and Hillary Clinton and all them folks, they put forth towards that. So meaning, because mind you, here it is now, and that's why I say it's a double-edged sword, because these dudes come out, and now you already got society already against them. How much money you willing to allocate to rectify this wrong? And that's what I'm saying. Meaning, okay, you come into office, we put you in office. Okay, bro, I need to see that ASAP.
Okay, let me ask you something. Let me ask you a simple question. You say you were a correctional officer. from the way
Yeah.
you're speaking of, and I'm hoping I'm totally hoping I'm wrong, because perhaps I'm just assuming, I'm just concluding something that you probably not saying. So are you telling me that when you were a correctional officer, all of them dudes that were going in and out of jail, man, you know what? If they fix the system, they need to pay these guys back. Are you telling me all of them are just not guilty? All of them are just good, clean guys that they just hate?
I'm not saying whether or not, and that ain't my point to be judge, jury, or executioner. But what I'm saying is this, right? And you from down there in Florida, where I'm from, right? I don't know what city you in, but my thing is this: as far as black folks, we already got a limit as far as what the opportunities provided to us, right? And it ain't on me to judge no man on how he go about trying to make his scratch or make his living, right?
Mm-hmm.
You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, mind you, as I said, when I can look and I can compare case by case, and you know what, the time being given to this dude to what's being given to that dude ain't the same thing. And mind you, the money that they getting off each head every day for you being there.
Hey, K Dot. Hey, let's
Yeah.
bring this back to the topic at hand. Well, back to Trump and Biden. So
No, that's what I'm saying. And meaning in regards to Biden, so meaning, bro, I need to know how much you going just can't say, okay, I'm gonna put you in office because you rolled with the other dude. I need to know how much you're gonna give towards us for that. And that's the point. We give our vote too freely.
What do you mean give us for that? What do you mean give us for that?
that's not the only issue though. And you think and I don't think anybody on this panel would think that Biden would totally fix everything. We damn sure don't think Trump will come in and fix everything. I mean, it's a very complex system.
Bro,
Man, fuck that, man.
hey, bro, if
Barack
it
Obama, man,
wasn't so
he didn't
complex
fix
for
the
them
system.
to allow gay folks to go ahead and marry and do, you mean?
There we go.
No, I gotta pull that card. That wasn't but they allowed it to happen, right? Hey, we gonna pass this for you, right?
I think we gotta look. I'm all about the best interest of black people, but at the same time, we have to think about the best interest of everyone who was black and who was not black as well. To an extent. So,
but hey, you know what? At the end of the day,
we got a lot of black folks who are part of that community who really benefited with him coming out like that.
Yeah, okay. Let me center this real quick. Let me center this real quick. Listen, look, we know where we live at. We live in the United States of fucking America with a triple K. Okay, we know how this whole judicial system is set up. We know the blueprint of this judicial system. They're looking when they were drafting that shit. They were just thinking of N-words. I'm not saying niggas with a G. I mean like ER. They were thinking of the NGERs. That's what they were thinking when they were drafting and setting up this whole system as far as, a certain crime and things of that nature. You can watch somebody who, okay, this system we talk about, you have to approach it holistically. That means you need a reform to where if somebody go to jail because the dude was 17, he was dumb and stupid, 16, he stole a car, that the rest of his life shouldn't be messed up. He should be able to go to college and not be stigmatized because he did something. That's how you got to look at it. The guy who stole a car or whatever, who's a car thief, he shouldn't be getting more jail time than white criminals who are stealing millions. Like these rich guys.
Yo, Gino. So Gino, essentially this whole prison system, judicial system is just a new form of slavery. And now we're looking back at once they got rid of slavery, They want to know how they can continue to get free labor and continue to make money off of black folks. And that's when they started with these labor camps, prison system with labor camps. And now that same cycle continues. And it's not just the judicial system. It's like you said, it's holistic. It's the education. It's social economic. It's
whole capitalistic. The economy is based on it. The economy. I was listening. See, here's the thing. You know, and I do try to be patient with my people sometimes, but like I really try not to invest too much on it. I try to just enrich my library of knowledge as much as I can on a diverse source of information and things of that nature. But sometimes you have to educate people and you have to let people know and see things. People don't understand, and they're not thinking of how this whole country, this capitalistic system, is all based on making revenues. See, I've never been in jail or locked up, whatever, but I've had to deal with the system. I've gotten a lot of traffic tickets, and I can tell you, bro, I'm tell you something. I've gone to the traffic court. I've gone to the courthouse where at times, I know one time out of several times, I know one time. And you know what? I thank God because I've always been fortunate. Because I've always been fortunate to have the funds to do that, right? But I remember one time I went to the courthouse to clear my license. I paid about $3,500 in one day.
Damn.
And I'm talking about that's one out of many times, not even including the other tickets I've gotten, because I used to be riding motorcycles and shit. Like, not to include all of those other tickets I've always paid and I've always gone to court for whatever, so I don't get points on my license. When you go to traffic court, let me tell you something. If you've never gone to traffic court to represent yourself, when you go to traffic court and you say you're from Florida, I'm sure if you've ever gone to traffic court in Florida or you talk to somebody, you go to traffic court and you say like, fuck it, I'm not going to pay a lawyer, because when you pay the lawyers don't go do anything. When you go to traffic court, you get in there, you sit down, whatever. They tell you how the whole procedure is going to go, right, for the day. They explain it to you. They tell you pretty much what they tell you. Look, you here, the judge going to call you, he's going to tell you your offense and shit like that, blah, blah, blah. And then you have 2 or 3 options. One of the options is to plead guilty or no contest, or no, not guilty. If you plead not guilty, then they're going to schedule another court date for the police officer that gave you that ticket to come to court. So a lot of people like me, when I go up there, let's say I get a speeding ticket. A lot of people, they already know they're guilty or whatever. They just go up there and plead no contest. If you plead no contest, what the judge promised to do is to not take any points off your license, and they're gonna charge you. Bro, I've been to court at least about 5+ times, right? In a span of 30 minutes. I swear to God, they must have collected at least about $50,000 in like 30 minutes. And they have courts several times throughout the day. This whole system is based on sucking money and making money off your ass. And having a prison system, having a population. If you have a product, you must have a population. You must have a base of clients that you can sell that product to. This whole law enforcement system, law enforcement officials, police officers in jails you need clients. You need bodies to put in them. You need cops to police and arrest people. You don't have these people with jobs.
Okay. So you know what? Can I jump in right there?
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
You're stating towards my point, right? And what I'm saying is this: we can look through the annals of history, right? And why I said Biden is a career politician, because he's been in office for probably since before I was born and thinking about being born. And why him and Hillary Clinton and the likes of them, the whole legislation of, hey, super predators. And I remember hearing that growing up. See what I'm saying? Meaning they help propel that. Trump wasn't in office saying, hey, now he might have did some shit along the way, and influence some shit, but we can say, hey, Biden had a direct hand in this bullshit. A direct hand.
Look at this shit.
Yo. That's
They got a compilation.
hey. So do you think that Trump would be a better fit?
Look at that shit.
Take on,
no, what I'm saying is, bro, like it's a situation of, bro, we got to choose between the devil and the devil, and it's hard than the motherfucker right now. Like I'm really, like I'm being honest, bro. I'm up in the air.
Look at that.
Like I don't know, bro.
Let me ask you this: what are some of the reasons why you would like to choose, like you would like to see Trump? Like, what do you think that Trump will have to offer that Biden can't offer?
Thank you.
What Trump can offer that Biden can't?
Exactly.
Shit, no, wait. I'm not saying that in the regards of, you know what, Trump is going to do this for us, Trump is going to do that for us. But I mean, my thing is this. They've given us the same playbook of, hey, black people, we going to do this for y'all, we going to do that for y'all. And you know what? After November 3rd, they're nowhere to be found.
Look, man, I think that we gotta look at this a little differently too. Some stuff, a lot of policy that affects everyone in this country can benefit black folks. Healthcare is one of them. Education is one of them. And the Democratic Party, the leadership of the Democratic Party, chose not to choose the candidates that can most benefit us when it comes to education and when it comes to healthcare. They didn't want those candidates. They wanted Biden. Now, when you go back, Biden did not want to, he did not do well in one single debate. Not one. He did horrible in every single debate. Why in the fuck did they choose Biden? Why? It was the Democratic leadership. He's the one that's connected. He's a career politician. He has all the connections in Delaware with Capital One and Chase, and he's been working for the motherfuckers for years. He's connected. That's why they chose him over the other people who were doing well in the Democratic run for president.
So is that not the status quo?
It is the status quo. But
so honestly, they'd like to go back to politics as usual, right? So meaning we gonna lull these niggas to sleep. We gonna lull them back to sleep. You see, one thing I can appreciate about this whole Trump thing and him shaking shit up, at least I can realize who my enemies is now.
Look at this shit, man. Look at this shit, though, bro.
Yes, before I couldn't tell who my enemy was, but now I can see exactly who they are.
The biggest problem is we need to be more involved with this political process. Motherfuckers need to vote, especially the primaries, because if you don't vote for the primaries, instead of getting the candidate that we really need to take care of our communities, to help our community, you get this motherfucker Biden.
Hey, listen, brother Gal, listen though. You know, you just talked about these other people that were in the race in the primary, and that were more. These people were leaning more to the left. A lot of times, these people are talking about Joe being some sort of liberal this, liberal that. Biden is damn near conservative. Biden is damn near conservative, bro. A lot of that's my problem with a lot of black people, bro. Whenever they say a lot of bombastic shit, they're not saying anything technical, anything complicated and complex that can solve real problems. They can tell you why they support Donald Trump, the reason why we shouldn't support Biden, bro. Do you know, like, there are a lot more people who are a lot more liberal than Biden. Black people are not even into liberal policies, progressive policies like healthcare for everybody and things of that nature.
Nope.
We were just talking about the prison system and things of that nature. The prison system is part of this capitalistic system, right? A lot of these people, they're all trying to keep this shit going. A lot of these people that are making this complaint, they don't like these candidates, whatever. They're not for a real revolution to really break the system down like that for real. They're just saying it just to have some shit to be against.
Yeah. Exactly. Because the real motherfuckers that could have helped us out, y'all didn't vote for. Y'all voted for this Biden cat. And basically we have a Republican against a Republican that's going for president right now.
Well, that's because they want a centrist. They want somebody who's somewhat of a centrist. And
Status
Biden,
quo, someone that can keep everything going as usual. It's not gonna shake things up. That's what they want. Now Trump, he shake things up, but this motherfucker he's trying to change this country into a motherfucking totalitarian country.
Listen, bro. Listen, bro. You and I'm sorry, like sometimes I do make a reference as far as to the military a lot, but you can just look at anything, right? Let's say Rich used to work on little Hondas, little 4-door cars and shit like that. And he supposedly,
you gotta stop using me as an example. No, I'm just going, man.
no, sorry. I just like to paint vivid pictures.
Yeah, I'm just fucking with you.
Understand things.
Working on the car shows.
Hey man, hey, I'm in DR, man, working on motor control.
Yeah. Let's say Rich, he be working on motor controls and shit, and all of a sudden, one day, you bring this nigga a fucking Mack truck to work on. You tell him no, fix this Mack truck. Like, anytime you want to change a system or do something at a different level, it takes time to change that and do it. When you have something that's all established, a lot of people don't understand how, like, a lot of people, like I said, again, I always say this, and there's no shit to anybody. People are not informed. If you're informed about shit, you'll understand that when they enact a policy, it might take like 5-10 years.
Man, that might went to a cup. Hey, something happened to your mic, man.
What's wrong with your mic?
You need me to come fix that?
No, it's probably my internet. Y'all go ahead, man.
Well, I'm gonna let y'all speak y'all last piece, man. I ain't gonna be on too much longer. I don't want to lose subscribers talking about Trump. And
Yeah. You get a lot of Trump lovers in the travel community. So let me shout out my motherfucking channel.
No, but hey, don't take me as a Trump supporter. I'm just saying, man, it's like I don't feel like just because of the fact that he ain't did shit for us really to just totally look sideways, because honestly, we got to look at Biden as well and hold him accountable, because why him and that former administration was there for 8 years, bro. And I can't really, like, when you ask me, and me and my brother was having this conversation, it's like, bro, I can't really pinpoint anything that him and that Obama administration really did for black folks, bro. And that's
Obamacare, buddy.
Huh?
Obamacare helped. I got a lot of people.
Look at how fucked up Obamacare is, bro. You got to understand. Prior to Obamacare, we never used to get charged. Like, now you get penalized for not having health insurance. Prior to that, we never used to have that. That's why I'm saying I can't really put it on Obama and them, because that was due to the Republican Party. But by the time it made it through the ranks, that shit got mucked up. So now if you don't have health insurance, they charge you.
Right. Yeah, they are. I think they got rid of that though.
That's what they were arguing about, saying he's going to remove that part of it of charging you if you don't have health insurance.
Yeah, I mean, Obamacare, man, it made it more expensive, man. It definitely did that.
Exactly. There was no control, and also a lot of states they didn't mandate all states to opt into it. So a lot of states did not opt into Obamacare. So that's made the health insurance industry worse.
Right.
Oh, but let me say this real quick. Like, there's no country, like no first world countries, because I noticed somebody in the chat earlier. I think it was Big Boss. He said something about a third world country. If you vote for Trump, if you don't want this to turn into a third world country, like this is very much a third world country. Like people just in the not even in the abstract. It's a third world country in almost in a very literal way, but sometimes it's just kind of invisible. You don't really see it like that, right? Because here in the United States, man, you get sick, Richie Rich was sick the other day. I mean, I'm glad the brother is back with us. Like,
using me as an example. Go ahead.
no, but you was just telling us how big. You were just telling us how big your bill is, bro. Like, bro, I remember, like, I met this lady, man. I was going to school. I was going to college.
Even
Like,
with insurance, I owe 12 grand.
yeah, bro. Like, so I went down the street to Waffle House to grab something to eat, bro. And there was like this white lady, man, a waitress, man. I was just talking to her. She was telling me, yeah, I just got at the hospital, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, man, I got a bill of $80,000. $80,000? How the fuck? She's never gonna be able to pay that shit at fucking Waffle House, bro.
Right.
So when you look at this, the way this country is set up in a certain aspect, a lot of people, if they go like a month without a paycheck, I mean, they're fucked. We just have basic shit that sustain people, like food stamp and shit like that. But in DR or Haiti, they don't have food stamp. Africa, they don't have food stamp. So you see the poverty like clearer than you will see it in the United States. But it's not that you're so much better. If you were so much better, it wouldn't be based all on revenues, based on all profits. That's why you don't even have fucking basic health care to even detect that you got a fucking cancer.
And Gino, and just to add on that, you got folks that are born sick or develop some sort of sickness, and they go bankrupt because the health insurance won't even pay for everything. And yet we got every other first world country in this world, healthcare is provided. Got universal healthcare. Yeah, we vote for the motherfuckers that want us to pay for healthcare.
Right,
bro.
Now, Bill, Gino, I can't necessarily agree with you as far as third world thing here in America, man. I mean, I get what you're saying, man, but this at the end of the day, as bad as America is, it's still the land of opportunity, man.
Yeah,
Still can make it, bro.
I'm not saying there's no opportunities. Just the same way in the aspect of even in freaking DR, some shit like that. Hell, there are opportunities over there too. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but this whole thing is based on this whole thing is all on, we specialize on collecting money, on making profits, on making revenues. So of course you can turn anywhere and find a freaking job and shit like that. And people feel like, oh, this is great. But little did they realize, yo, it's just fucking enslaved. You working 65 years for your fucking retirement.
But so
I mean, let me stop, man.
See now, Bill, if you ask a Republican, they say you a socialist.
I mean, I'm kind of leaning. I'm a socialist middle. I'm very kind of middle left, but it's not because I'm just I subscribe to these labels. I don't. I do my independent research and understand. I listen to economists that tell you, that break down the way this capitalistic system. I listen to people that explain to you workers how workers should have rights in the company and things of that nature, and how they break it down to you. I mean, I listen to shit that makes sense. Since that opened my eyes and helped me realize, damn, we're fucking insane. We just don't realize that shit. But us, we be like, look, all them for workers in DR, they in poverty. Look, I got a nice car, I got that nice car loan and shit. I got this big house. It's a fucking mortgage, motherfucker.
Right. No, I would totally agree with you on that point, man. Like, my thing is, as far as how we look at it, like, we're lulled to sleep because we're so consumed with things, right? Whereas a motherfucking DR might have the simple basic necessities. He lives a little bit more free than what we do. He just might not live as comfortable as we do, but he got to bust his ass not just to keep the things he got.
My man, Leon Bentley says universal health care, we will get higher taxes. We already pay high taxes. A lot of money is going into bullshit like tax cuts for major corporations and rich folks. A lot of them motherfuckers are getting our money. Socialism going up.
Bro, people will throw these little words, socialism this, socialism that, but you don't mind a nice tax cut, a nice tax loophole for Jeff Bezos, who got billions of dollars.
Exactly.
Bro, his wife divorce settlement alone She walked away with millions. She literally gave away. She gave away like damn near like how much money? 500 million. Like she gave in
She became the second richest person in the world.
That's what they did to Trump. That's what they did to this black Trump supporter.
She walked away with billions, bro, just from being his wife and being married to him. You know, I mean, that's a whole different conversation. But I mean, just to show you, that's how rich Jeff Bezos is. And these people, they don't mind giving that to them. You know, people be like, oh, well, Jeff Bezos create jobs and shit like that, blah, blah, blah. But what can he do with so much fucking money? He's gonna die, bro. His grandkids is already your grandkids' boss.
Right.
You understand that shit? Like
but see, that's the thing. Okay, so as you said, right, and it supports what you said. Like it's a capitalistic society, right? Whereas we at least afforded that opportunity. So meaning, you know what? He went and started from the garage and built something that was grand. You feel me?
Oh yeah, I give him props. I'm not knocking business.
So my thing is, the question is, see, when you start saying that, it's like, do we penalize him for going forth and making something of it?
He's gonna pay taxes. No, I'm not saying. I'm not
You
saying that.
See, that's the thing, because that's like me putting $1 million in your account, and tomorrow say, hey man, look here, you know, you got this $1 million, bro. I'm gonna need 500K from you for taxes. Your attitude is gonna be like, fuck them niggas.
All right, y'all about to end this show in a minute. I've been on almost 3 hours now.
Hey. Basically, Jeff Bezos and Amazon, they gotta pay their fair share. You gotta pay taxes.
Yeah, no, I will say that. Yeah, as far as the loopholes they use for taxes, yeah, they need to pay their fair share. I will agree with you with that all day. But we can't, you know, we can't be mad at them for making what they make. But as far as that tax stuff, yeah, they do need to pay their fair share as far as companies.
Somebody's troll in the chat. I don't know who that is. Y'all know who this is?
Hey, that's your people's, bitch.
I don't know who that is. I get more trolls every day. I don't know who that is, man.
Hey, Rich, good looking for this panel, man.
Well, all right. Hey, man, I appreciate y'all coming on, man.
All right, man, Rich.
We're going to do something later on, man. Shit, I got to get some rest, man. That's almost 3 hours for me. I know some of y'all was on for the whole debate. I appreciate everybody joining me.
Hey, I'm plugging my channel, Traveling Things with Profe Gallo.
Traveling who?
Traveling Things.
Traveling Things?
Yeah.
Traveling Things.
All right. Cool, man.
So, yeah, I'm definitely happy to hit you up, man. All right. Thank you, fellas. You know, this is always enlightening. You know, we're sharpening our swords amongst each other. Just waiting for us to open up the world so we can head to where we need to head to. You know?
Right. Okay.
Yeah, be easy. I'm out.
All right.
Appreciate everybody coming on, man.
Peace.
All right.
All right, peace.